Welcome in to another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wasserman here with our biggest preview show we have ever done here on the PFF College Football Show. Dalton, we are doing a baker's dozen amount of games, 13 games on this preview show. It is a loaded week 7 of college football. Our producers want to kill us back there, but we had to give the people 13 games in this preview.
We're running out of space for helmets on this desk. It's mini helmet madness over here, but you mentioned that we set our record with 12 games 2 weeks ago. So you know what? Why not just go to 13? Because every single college game now feels like it has some level of consequence, especially when you're talking about the race toward the playoffs. So I think every one of these games is extremely important in their own right, and we will probably say, you know what? It's hard not to say you won't see a couple of upsets out of 13 games here that'll throw college football into even further chaos.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of Arizona State fans in the chat right now. Our guys Tyler Browning and Andrew Harbaugh in the chat right now. James Foster, Short Bus in the chat too. A lot of people in the chat right now, Dalton, for what should be an incredible Week 7 of college football. Like I said, 13 games. We have never done this amount of games before here on the PFF College Football Show. I want to remind you guys, all of the stats we're going to use for this massive 13-game preview are available to you guys with a PFF Plus subscription at subscribe.pff.com. And you can get it for 25% off right now when you use the promo code PFFCFB25. Dalton, we got an update this morning. We are still in the lead for the contest right now. Please keep using that promo code because you guys are really helping us out right now and helping us feed our kids feed Tyler's kids at least. None of us have kids besides Tyler.
Yeah.
We're all feeding Tyler's kids over here.
You know what? That's actually the most important thing here. Really, it really is.
Absolutely. So please keep using that promo code PFFCFB25. See right there on the bottom of the screen. Click the link in the description below too. Feed Eli actually is our kid, I guess.
Well, he kind of runs the show. Is it not the other way around? I've always kind of thought, despite us sitting up here
Eli as a
babbling,
father figure?
He's in charge.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just up here babbling.
So feed us then. Feed Dalton and I, please, for you to use that promo code right now. Dalton, we have to get into this preview right now because it is a hefty one. First game that we're previewing, massive Friday night game, and the first Group of 5 only game that we're previewing, number 24 USF at North Texas. Again, Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. This game has huge implications in the American Conference and by proxy, the college football playoff. So still very early to make any sort of declarations on the college football playoff right now. But I'll say, Dalton, it's probably going to be a major surprise if the Group of 5 playoff spot does not come from the American Conference right now. The only 2 Group of 5 programs that are currently ranked in the AP Top 25 come from the American, in Memphis and USF, one of the teams in this game. And 2 of the other 3 Group of 5 teams that receive votes in the AP poll are also from the American Conference, in North Texas, the other team in this game, and Navy. So the winner of this game on Friday night has a great chance at advancing to the American Championship game in December to fight for a playoff spot, while the loser kind of has an uphill climb the rest of the year.
Yeah, and it sure looks like this won't be the last game from the American Conference that we talk about, because you've got 5 real contenders possibly for the title of this conference: USF, North Texas, Memphis, Navy, and Tulane. This is as loaded a Group of 5 conference, I think, as we've seen in a while, and all of them have gotten big wins early in the season. The only team that hasn't gotten a win over a Power 4 team is North Texas, but they get a chance to prove it on their home field this Friday night.
Absolutely. So you have the USF offense with Byron Brown leading it against North Texas. What should we know when they have the ball?
So obviously we've seen USF play against Florida and Miami, which has slowed their offense down a little bit when you look at the numbers. So, I mean, you get back into this Alex Golesh coached offense, and it's about tempo. It's very much like Tennessee's offense under Josh Heupel, where Golesh came from before. He was the offensive coordinator there. And the big thing, in spite of that tempo, is that they do want to run the football, right? Obviously, they're going to get high flying through the air with the passing game, with Byron Brown, with Chaz Nimrod on the outside, with Keyshawn Singleton on the outside. But it really comes down to the tempo and the run game, and they're trying to pick that up now that they're getting into their conference schedule. Last week, Max, against Charlotte, they ran 101 offensive plays, 101 offensive snaps they took. That's what USF wants to do. They want to run the most plays per game in the country, and they want to do it with a running game that, look, they're 45th in the nation in rushing grade right now, but in their 3 games not against Florida and Miami, They have an 80-plus rushing grade in all three of those. So they really want to run the football. They're 24th in yards per carry. They're 9th in yards after contact per carry. And they're 2nd in the nation in missed tackles forced per carry. These guys are really hard to tackle. Byron Brown, the quarterback, the dual-threat quarterbacks at the core of it all. They lost one of their backs, Cartavius Norton, to a neck injury last week. Wish him a speedy recovery. But they still have guys like Sam Franklin and Alvon Isaac who have been really good in the backfield. That's what sets this up, is first down running, successful running on early downs, complemented with screens and play action. And I think as far as North Texas defense goes, they're very aggressive. They're really good tacklers. Actually, they lead the nation right now in tackling grade for us and missed tackle rate. They only miss a tackle on 7% of their attempts in the run game. That's the best in the country. So we're going to see if their defensive line and even their entire defensive personnel can match the tempo of USF, and they haven't really played a team yet that forces them as wide in the formation as USF does because of some of the matchups that they've had so far against Army, against Western Michigan. North Texas has run a lot of base defense, 3 linebackers. They're not going to be able to do that in this game. So I'm curious to see how they deal with the spacing and then how that corresponds to the run game for USF.
Yeah, I've got North Texas offense, so I'm looking at the run game as well for North Texas against USF's run defense. So North Texas does have a rising star at quarterback and redshirt freshman Drew Messmaker. Right now he's a 90 passing grade on the year. That's tied for 5th in the entire country. But I think the Mean Green will rely on their run game in this one. Right now they're 12th in rushing grade on the year, 21st in run blocking grade. They have a redshirt sophomore, Mackenzie McGill II. He opened the year as the starting running back, but Dalton, I think that North Texas might have found a future superstar, maybe a current superstar, in true freshman Caleb Hawkins over the last few weeks. And I want to shout out one of the people in this chat right now, Tyler Browning. He DM'd me like 2 weeks ago and said, dude, you got to watch Caleb Hawkins. I had no idea. Hand up, I had no idea who that was. I turned on the tape for this guy, and he was dead right. This guy is a star for this North Texas offense right now. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school. Again, true freshman this year. Look at those stats right there. 92.5 PFF grade in the year. Best among all running backs in the country. 52% forced missed tackle rate in the year. Best among all running backs in the country. And also, great receiving back. 3.33 yards per route run. That's 5th among all running backs in the country as well. So Caleb Hawkins, a true freshman over the last few weeks, has exploded for this North Texas offense right now. USF, meanwhile, is only 105th in run defense grade this year at 69.6, and they're 103rd in yards after contact per attempt allowed at 3.3. The Bulls right now have an 18% missed tackle rate on runs. That's 114th in the country. So you have a running back who is really, really physical, and Caleb Hawkins going up against you right now, who looks like a star as a true freshman against a USF defense has struggled bringing down ball carriers this year. That could be a major issue for the Bulls.
6'2", 200 pounds, and you mentioned it, not afraid to hit anybody with the ball in his hands, right? Really, really physical. Over his last 2 games against Army and South Alabama, he's broken 19 tackles. So you look at a guy like Hawkins, and I think both of these teams are going to have similar goals where on early downs they want to run the football and put themselves in really good down and distance situations and play with tempo. I think a great matchup on that side of the ball is Hawkins against these great linebackers for USF, Mac Harris and Jalen Schuler. Those 2 guys are really the heart and soul of this defense, especially Mac Harris, who's one of the highest graded linebackers in the country right now. So tackling is going to be big. Who gets to play more physical? Who on early downs gets to play with tempo? And Alex Golesh is somebody who always talks about getting that first down of a drive and then getting into that hyper speed that they want to get into as well. That's going to be a theme on both sides. It's the reason we could get a high-scoring game.
Absolutely. So shout out Tyler Browning once again. And listen, if you guys have any players that you think Dalton and I should get an eye on, please DM us on Twitter, because we like to think we know most of college football, but there's obviously guys that are going to go under the radar for even us too. So if you have a guy that you think, man, this guy's a star, I haven't heard anyone talk about him yet, please DM us on Twitter or anywhere else and just tell him about us. Because like I said, Tyler shouted out Caleb Hawkins. I was like, who the heck is Caleb Hawkins? I turned him on. I'm like, dude, this guy is a freaking stud, man. So big shout out to Tyler for pointing him out to me, because he could be a major factor in what should be a massive game in the American Conference on Friday night. All right, Dalton, ultimately, who is winning this huge game in the American, and who ultimately could have a great chance at making it to the American Championship game in December?
This game's tough to get a read on when it comes to the winner, and that's why it's one of the closest spreads of the week. You have a North Texas team who has mostly dominated teams that, I don't think they've played a team as good as USF yet, right? I think this is the best team they've played against. And then you have a USF team, to me, that really good start, beat Florida, obviously. They're 4-1. The one loss is to Miami, and you see what they're doing to everybody right now. But I also think there's an element where USF hasn't played a fully complete 60 minutes of good football. Maybe their game against South Carolina State, but that's also an FCS team. Last week, they still beat Charlotte by roughly 30 without playing a clean, complete 60 minutes. They're going to need it in this game, but I'm going to take the Bulls to go on the road. I think a high-scoring game, a high-tempo game with a lot of big plays, like we've mentioned, especially on the ground. I'll take USF 38-34.
I have North Texas actually winning this game, so I disagree with you. I have 28-27 North Texas over USF. I think a game at North Texas will play a part in it, and I think in a game that could come down to the wire, Caleb Hawkins takes advantage of a vulnerable USF run defense this year and leads the Mean Green to a massive victory in the American Conference and Group of 5 playoff race too. And if USF stacks the box on Caleb Hawkins, like I said, Drew Messmaker has been really, really good as a redshirt freshman for North Texas too. I mean, you got a redshirt freshman quarterback and Drew Messmaker, who has the 5th best passing grade in the country, and a true freshman running back who is the highest graded running back in the country. North Texas could be set up in that backfield for years to come with those two right there. So I got North Texas winning this game 28-27. It should be an awesome, awesome game on Friday night between those two teams that are currently some of the favorites to win the American Conference this year. Dalton, bad hosting on my part. Hand up. I wanted to shout out the records that we have going into this week. You are beating me right now 40. You're 40-23. I'm 38-25. We both went 6-3 last week. So yeah, 2 games behind you.
We had a couple games that we differed on, and then it just kind of evened out. A decent week, certainly better than I did in NFL this week. Boy, it was a tough week for me in the NFL picking, but 6-3 in a tough week, I can live with that. And I'll tell you what, I think these 13. I'll be curious to see how we come out of this one because this is a lot of 50-50s here.
I know we are a college football show and we have plenty to get to on this channel, but real quick before we move on. Breaking news in the NFL. The Bengals just got Joe Flacco. They traded for Joe Flacco.
An in-division trade.
Yeah.
And now...
Any thoughts on that real quick?
I think...
also Eli. I want Eli's thoughts on this, too.
We'll get Eli's thoughts. We could even get Tyler's thoughts back there by
True,
proxy.
yeah.
But although not that it matters because they're starting Dylan Gabriel, I'm sure there's a bunch of fans in Colorado celebrating for sure because we have now moved Shedeur up the depth chart now. I would assume.
QB2 now, yeah.
I think, unless the Bengals are sending a quarterback back the other way. But an odd trade, but I think with the Browns committed to the younger guys, or at least one of them for now, this was an option. And now you have an interesting situation here in Cincinnati as they try to save their season.
All
Eli,
right.
what do you got for us?
I'm seriously worried about Joe Flacco's health.
Yeah. The O-line.
I'm worried he's going to die back there, but...
He was dealing with the Browns O-line, though, so he's used to it. So.
Yeah, but that didn't go too high the first few weeks. Yeah. I'm excited to see a new guy in the room. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Joe Flacco has now played for 3 of the 4 AFC North teams.
He's got to go to the Steelers next.
He's got to go. Of course. The Steelers, of course, they're going to bring him in. They've had a 40-year-old quarterback, it felt like, for years now. They're going to bring him in at some next year.
Aaron Rodgers.
We got to get Tyler's take, too, so...
I don't have a take. Good for Shedeur, huh? That's it.
If anyone doesn't know, Tyler's a diehard Browns fan back there, and Eli's a diehard Bengals fan. So nice little handshake right there from Tyler and Eli.
There you go. See that? just be friends. I know it's an in-state rivalry, but you can just be friends one time. I mean, come on now. It's all friendly. You're just trying to help each other out here.
Big trade in the state of Ohio, and a big game in the state of Ohio too. Next, number 1 Ohio State at number 17 Illinois, 12 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. Look at that transition right there, Dalton. You like that?
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. That was stuff.
The storyline to watch in this game, this is Ohio State's toughest road test of the year so far. Ohio State won the national title, obviously, last year, and they look well-positioned to defend their title this year right now. They're the number 1 team in the country. They lead the nation on defense with only 5 points allowed per game. Only 5 points per game allowed by Ohio State. And the offense has the 4th best PFF grade on the season at 91.4. They look to prove their status as a top team in the country once again this week as they go on the road against a top 20 team in Illinois. The Fighting Illini are 5-1 on the year and have legitimate college football playoff aspirations, and obviously a win over the number 1 team in the country in Ohio State would go a long, long way for Illinois to potentially make the playoff this year.
All of a sudden, and I know you're not going to want me to harp on this too long, but all of a sudden with that Penn State loss to UCLA and their upcoming schedule and the possibility that they could be knocked out of this thing when nobody expected them to be, the back door is kind of open in the Big Ten right now. Let's say they're going to get 4 teams into the playoff, right? And we don't know that Indiana is going to either maybe beat Oregon or they still have to play Penn State themselves, in Happy Valley. But you look at that last, that second tier when we talk about Illinois or USC and Michigan playing each other this week, or maybe Nebraska can recover, right? You look at something like that and the way that Penn State possibly is in a very precarious position, and you go, oh, if Illinois were to pull this upset or even keep it tight and then win out the rest of the way and get to 10 wins, you see this as a possibility now. Whereas before, I think we still kind of felt like the 4 best teams were pretty clear in Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, and Penn State. Now that Penn State's potentially knocked out of that, Illinois, again, those other teams, they got some opportunities. And there's another huge game later in the night that we're going to talk about, with USC and Michigan. I think those are 2 teams also eyeing a spot possibly like that. But this is a big opportunity for Illinois to see if they can prove themselves, at least to keep it close against maybe the best team in the country. And if they could ever find a way to win, you turn college football upside down again.
So you have the best team in the country's offense with, you said last week, potentially the best quarterback in the country in Julian Sayin, who has been deadly accurate for Ohio State this year against the Illinois defense. Dalton, what should we know about that matchup?
So, look, they're going to send pressure, and they're not. It's not all that creative. It's a lot of 5-man rush and cover one. We've talked about Illinois is one of the heaviest man coverage teams in the country. They're also one of the heaviest blitzing teams in the country with that 5-man rush. 21st in pass blitz rate this season. First, when they blitz in pass rush grade, tops in the country, 9th in pass rush win rate, and they have the 10th most sacks in the country when they are blitzing opposing quarterbacks. So that's what you're going to get in big moments in this game. Julian Sayin is going to see pressure. He's going to know where it's coming from because it's pretty standard, this 5-man pressure that Illinois brings, but he knows what's coming, and he knows Illinois is bringing pressure. He's going to have to get the ball out of his hand quickly. Now, the good news for Ohio State, guess who the highest graded passer in the country against the blitz is?
Is it Julian Sayin?
It's Julian Sayin with a 92.2 passing grade, completing 78% of his passes against the blitz. So when you look at this matchup, I do think there's a heavy amount of this, especially if Illinois does not get pressure and Ohio State picks up these 5-man rushes and Sayin gets the ball out of his hands. I think Illinois then has a major problem because they have actually very quietly struggled in coverage this year, especially without Xavier Scott in the lineup. Illinois right now, the 14th worst coverage grade in the country. They've had some injuries on the back end against Xavier Scott in the slot being out. That really hurts them. You saw that against USC. They had no answer from Mekhi Lemon, and I'll be honest, Mekhi Lemon's great, but if you don't have an answer from Mekhi Lemon, boy, that's Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate there on the outside, too, along with Max Clare at tight end, Brandon Innes in the slot, all of that stuff. So I think that's what it comes down to is Illinois. I think they're going to stay aggressive. They're going to continue to blitz as much as they have all year. If they can get the pressure on Sayin, then they stand a chance. If Ohio State picks it up or Sayin just keeps throwing over the blitz as well as he has, then Ohio State is at a serious advantage because their receivers have been winning, and right now Illinois' cornerbacks have not been winning the battle as often as we're used to.
Absolutely. I'm actually looking at a very similar matchup on my side of the ball too with Illinois. Can Luke Altmaier find quick answers against Ohio State's defense? Because listen, offensive lines, Dalton, are inherently meant to protect quarterbacks. But in some of Illinois' biggest games this year, Luke Altmaier has been protecting his offensive line. In their 45-19 win over Duke in week 2, Illinois only had a 40.2 pass blocking grade. But Luke Altmaier did a great job of mitigating those struggles because he got rid of the football really quickly, averaging 2.37 seconds average time to throw in that game. In Illinois, later on, a couple weeks ago against USC, they averaged 0.690 EPA per pass in their 34-32 win over number 21 USC. That's the best ever in terms of EPA per pass for Illinois in the PFF college era. In that game, Luke Altmaier got rid of the ball at a blistering 2.26 second average. But the week before that win over USC, Illinois was embarrassed by number 19 Indiana by a 63-10 final score. The Fighting Illini averaged only negative 0.507 EPA per pass in that game. That's their worst mark since the 2021 season. Luke Altmaier was sacked 7 times in that game and only had a 38.1 passing grade, while Illinois allowed over 50% pressure rate in that loss too. And Dalton, in that game, Luke Altmaier's average time to throw was 2.85 seconds. So he held on to it for much longer than he did against Duke and against USC. He and the Fighting Illini's receiving core will need to find quick answers against an Ohio State defense that right now is 9th in the country in EPA per pass and 9th in the country in pressure rate at over 41% this year. That's no easy task, though, because right now the Buckeyes have stars in their secondary, namely Caleb Downs, who could be a top 5 pick in this upcoming NFL draft, and they're among the top 20 teams in the country in terms of coverage grade. On throws at or under 2.5 seconds, Ohio State has an 83.8 coverage grade and is 24th in the nation in terms of EPA per play. So Luke Altmaier has got to get rid of the football quickly, but that's not as easier said than done, though, because Ohio State's secondary is absolutely lights out right now, and they won't make it easy for him to hit Hank Beatty or anyone else on that receiving core because they're going to play a lot of tight coverage.
Yeah, I mean, and look, Illinois has some good options to go to. You talk about Hank Beatty's been one of the highest graded receivers in the country this year. Colin Dixon's been good. Hudson Clement's another good option. I think what you're going to get is another example from Matt Patricia about maybe trying to confuse Altmaier and make him hold the ball a little bit longer. Maybe some simulated pressures, maybe some zone blitzes that rotate things around. I think some similar concepts to what we saw him use in week 1 against Texas and Arch Manning. Just make him hold the ball a beat longer, make him understand that the pressure's coming from a different direction that he might think. So I think there is an element to preventing Altmaier from getting rid of the ball so quickly and being so decisive from Matt Patricia if he can make it difficult for him to see the coverages. But no, it certainly is a challenge every week when Illinois, when we've known them to have struggles in pass protection in big spots, that's going to be a big thing. And if Ohio State does decide to just rush forward the entire game, then you still have to deal with and block Caden Curry and those guys up front. It's a very good unit, still a unit that I think is better than we thought they would be coming into the year considering the talent they've lost. So I think it's a fun matchup for sure, and Altmaier is going to have to play an A-plus game again to win this one.
Absolutely. So ultimately, Dalton, will Ohio State continue to prove why they're the number 1 team in the country right now, or will Illinois get a huge upset at home?
I think they will. I mean, I know they haven't given up double-digit points in a game yet, but I do think Illinois has a better chance than probably most of the other teams. Probably the best offense that Ohio State's played so far. Minnesota's been a little one-dimensional. Texas obviously is still struggling offensively. I've got Ohio State 34-16 even on the road. I just think it's too much. I think Matt Patricia's been calling great defenses. Brian Hartline's been doing a great job of developing Julian Sayin in this offense. And I think at the end of the day, Illinois struggles in coverage in the moments when Sayin does have clean pockets. And if he has a lot of them, it could be a real problem. He's just been so darn accurate, and these receivers are way too good to play some plethora of man coverage against. 34-16 Ohio State. I think Illinois can give him a fight, especially if Altmaier does play his A game, but Ohio State's just got too much talent.
Yeah, I've got Ohio State winning as well, 31-17. They will give up their most points they've allowed all year, which is crazy considering Illinois won't even score 20 points for either of us in this game. But yeah, Ohio State's just still going to win this game, and they pull off the road win and show why they're the favorite to repeat as national champions right now. I just don't know how Illinois' offense is going to score 20-plus points, I think, on Ohio State. And Ohio State's offense with Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, too, they have been unstoppable, looks like, so far, too. So I have Ohio State winning 31-17 over Illinois. Next up, another massive noon game. Number 8, Alabama at number 14, Missouri, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Storyline is, will the Tide keep rolling, or will Missouri show it's a legitimate playoff contender? So Alabama opened the year with a loss to Florida State, but they've rebounded very nicely, and now they're number 8 in the country, Dalton, the same exact ranking they entered the year with. So rebounded really nicely for Alabama. They've won their last 4 games, including their last 2 games, over top 20 opponents in number 5 Georgia and number 16 Vanderbilt. They look for their 3rd ranked win in as many weeks this week against Missouri. It was a perfect 5-0 record on the season, but the Tigers still have not beaten a top 25 team yet. So this week's game will be a good barometer for whether or not Missouri is a true contender to make the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, Alabama they've got through a couple of tough hurdles the last couple of weeks, winning at Georgia and then getting over the mental hurdle of beating Vanderbilt after last year's loss. And I think the story is that Ty Simpson's just been incredible, right? And I mean, Alabama's run game has been a little inconsistent. They're getting it back now with Jam Miller healthy. The defense stepped up in a big way last week after struggling the first couple of drives. But I think that is the story right now, is Alabama's offensive resurgence and what Ty Simpson looks like. And he looks like a Heisman contender through the early part of the season.
Absolutely. So you actually have the Alabama offense. You could talk about Ty Simpson a little bit, Dalton, but I think you want to talk about our favorite player in the country right now. That is offensive tackle / running back / wide receiver, Caden Proctor, the new Travis Hunter of college football, some are saying.
Some are saying it. Some are saying it. Some are calling it the perfect season. Look, I think for me, with Missouri, they run as much single high as anybody in the country. More than 73% of the time, they're in single high coverages, one free safety back there, right? So I think the problem is that when they've played a couple of teams in Kansas and Missouri who have been able to get vertical, especially more mobile quarterbacks than Ty Simpson, but Simpson has proven he can work outside the pocket a little bit. Missouri's had some struggles in coverage. The run defense has been great. The pass rush has been really good. But if they let Ty Simpson have a clean pocket back there, I have a bad feeling this is going to be a big day for him and Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard deep down the field. So what needs to be the answer? You have to find a way to get pressure. You just mentioned it. Caden Proctor on one side at left tackle for Alabama. And then there's been this odd rotation on the right side of Alabama's offensive line at right guard and right tackle. But the two guys at right tackle have been Wilkin Formby, the veteran, and then Michael Carroll, the freshman, who was one of Alabama's highest graded players last week. Interesting matchup for those guys against Damon Wilson and Zion Young, the two defensive ends for Missouri, who are the two leaders right now in pressures in the SEC. 22 pressures and an 89 pass rush grade for Wilson, 21 pressures and an 87 pass rush grade for Zion Young. These two guys, I think, have to be the two best players on the field for Missouri. If you can get pressure on Simpson, he's a solid athlete, but he's not quite at the level of, say, the guys Missouri has seen before in Lenora Sellers, in Jalen Daniels. Now, can he work outside the pocket? We saw it last week against Vandy, absolutely, but it's when he can get surgical from within the pocket and beating those single high defenses that he's going to hurt you. So I think Missouri needs a huge game out of both of these defensive ends, Damon Wilson, Zion Young. If we don't hear their names a whole lot, Ty Simpson's probably going to have a big day against this coverage unit.
Yeah, Ty Simpson, the reason why he's one of the top Heisman candidates right now is how disgustingly lethal he has been from a clean pocket this year. And if you don't get pressure on him, you're in big trouble, no matter who you have in your secondary or anywhere else, because Ty Simpson has been so freaking good from a clean pocket this year. I'm looking at Missouri's run game against Alabama's run defense in this one. Missouri right now has the best run game in college football. They lead the nation with a 91.8 rushing grade this year. They're second in the nation in terms of EPA per run. Running back Ahmad Hardy right now is the betting favorite to win the Doak Walker Award this year. He leads the nation with a 92.1 rushing grade, leads the nation with 731 rushing yards, leads the nation with 551 yards after contact, and leads the nation with 46 broken tackles on the year. This guy is an absolute superstar, and he's only a true sophomore as well. You also get some help, though, because Missouri is 16th this year in run blocking grade as a team with 72, although I will say star left tackle Caden Green could potentially still be out of this game with a foot injury he's dealing with right now, too. Alabama has had some issues in run defense this year. They're 116th in yards per attempt allowed at 5.3, 109th in explosive run rate allowed at about 15%. And on that 5.3 yard allowed average, Dalton, 2.5 yards come before contact, which is the second worst rate in the Power Four. And Alabama has multiple injuries right now in their front seven, like Q Rusaw, John Marion Latham, and Jeremiah Beeman. The Tigers are going to run the ball early and often in this game right now. It'll be up to Alabama to stop the run and make Bo Perbula throw into the teeth of what is an elite Alabama secondary.
Another mobile quarterback to deal with, too, and that for the last year and a half has been Alabama's kryptonite. Now, last week, their offense controlled the game enough against Vanderbilt that Vanderbilt just couldn't get in the full rhythm of their offense. But look at the big games that Alabama's played in so far. Florida State, 5 yards a carry. Georgia, 7.5 yards a carry. Vanderbilt last week, they didn't get enough carries to control the game, but Vanderbilt last week, 8 yards per carry. This is the big priority, and Missouri's offensive line is way better than Vanderbilt's. Vandy beats you with scheme and Pavia and option looks and deception and all of that. This team at Missouri, they line up those offensive linemen and their tight ends and these backs. They run outside zone and they run it down your throat till you can stop it. It's exactly what they did a couple weeks ago to beat South Carolina. They're going to do that in every game until you prove you can stop them. So Alabama's got to buckle up. They cannot give up 7-8 yards per carry in this game because Missouri will not lay off the gas. And Bo Perbula, he's a threat too now. We cannot forget about his legs. I know Ahmad Hardy's getting the spotlight. Jamal Roberts has been really good as the second back there, but Prabula and the option game could be a big factor here. Again, this Missouri offensive line, I think beating them is priority number one for Alabama on defense.
Absolutely. You look at that in Missouri right now, they're top 20 team in the country in run blocking grade. You have the best running back in the country right now in Ahmad Hardy, a dual-threat quarterback in Bo Prabula, and an Alabama run defense right now that's outside the top 100 in almost every rushing metric right now, too. Ultimately, Dalton, will Missouri pull off the upset at home over Alabama, or will the Crimson Tide get their third ranked win in 3 weeks?
I actually think we're going to know very early in this game which way this is going to go. I think possibly even by the end of the first quarter. If we see Alabama come out and Ty Simpson hits a couple home runs early and it's 14-0 Bama and Missouri has to play from behind, Missouri's going to have a problem. It could even be Alabama running away with it. If Missouri comes out and they are running the ball for 7-8 yards a clip like the last couple of teams have done, and they're in that rhythm, and then they get in the play-action game with Kevin Coleman and Marquise Johnson, then you've got yourself a serious problem if you're Alabama. Two contrasting styles. I'm trusting Ty Simpson because right now I think he's the best player on the field. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And Missouri being right now 57th in coverage grade, and if I take out their Week 1 game against Central Arkansas, they're in the mid-80s. I don't love that. I think Missouri's pass rush, they have to control the game with their run game. Basically the opposite of what Bama did last week. If Missouri can control the clock, time of possession, limit drives, and then their pass rush has to win. I really believe Damon Wilson and Zion Young have to be their two best defensive players in this game. If that happens, Missouri can win. I'm taking Ty Simpson and Alabama 31-27. I think it's a fascinating football game with contrasting styles.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a massive ball game, and I think it's going to be really close, but I also have Alabama winning this game as well. I have it 27-24. I think the Tigers' run game will give the Crimson Tide a lot of issues in this game, but I do think Ty Simpson will be the hero once again for Alabama and show why he's a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate right now with another stellar performance against, like you said, a vulnerable Missouri secondary they've got right now too. So I have Alabama winning this game 27-24 of Missouri, but I can see that going either way because it should be a great, great game that we got. It's a great game, Dalton, but it's not the biggest game of the week. That's up next right now in number 7 Indiana at number 3 Oregon, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. A spot in the Big Ten title game could potentially be on the line in this game because right now, Oregon and Indiana are the second and third highest ranked teams in the Big Ten, obviously behind Ohio State, who's number 1 in the entire country. Ohio State also avoids both Oregon and Indiana on their schedule. Because of that, there's a very strong chance that the winner of this game would ultimately go to Indianapolis in December to fight for a Big Ten title.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also just in the case of the playoff, and you never want to call out things too early. You never know when a team stumbles. You know that well. I think after this game, whoever wins this game, I would just about guarantee goes to the playoff, right? Because you look at Oregon, I look at their last 6 games, I'd favor them pretty heavily in all of them. You look at Indiana, their last 6, maybe the Penn State game, I wouldn't favor them, but the rest of them, I think they're the more talented team. When you look at Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, I think the winner of this game is just about locking in a playoff spot. I know we're calling this out after week 7, but you just look at the rest of these team schedules. Oregon already having the win at Penn State. Indiana with a couple of big wins over obviously Illinois and Iowa. That was big for them to get through their first 2 Big Ten games. And you mentioned it, the inside track to the Big Ten title game. Likely, we think, for now, to play Ohio State eventually down the line.
And they avoid them in the regular season too, which is huge.
And they avoid them head-to-head in the regular season. And for the tiebreaker, if you're trying to catch up and work into that mix, and then you're hoping the other loses a game along the way, gets kind of tough in there. So I really think the winner of this game is in such a fantastic spot when it comes to, yes, the Big Ten title game, but also the playoff. I would darn near guarantee the winner of this game goes to the playoff right now.
Our guy, Andrew Harbaugh, so early on in the show, he said battle for QB1 this week, and I actually didn't know which game he's talking about because you have a couple of them. Maybe it's Indiana-Oregon with Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore. Maybe it's still LSU-South Carolina with Lenore Sellers and Garrett Nussmeier. He did confirm he's talking about this game, though, Indiana against Oregon. So QB1.
For a minute he was talking about Alabama, Missouri.
In the draft, you think Bo Prabula?
Might have a better shot than Drew Aller.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. That's not saying much, unfortunately, right now, but maybe. But he is talking about this game, Dalton, and you have the Oregon offense with the Heisman Trophy favorite right now in Dante Moore, who also went number 1 overall in our most recent mock draft that we just did too. What should we know when he has the ball in this game?
So this Indiana defense presents unique challenges. They run more zone coverage than any team in the country, right around 93% of the time. They run a very, very high rate of simulated pressures, among the highest rates in the country, and they rotate their safety. So there is a lot of post-snap movement in this Indiana defense. If you do want to know if Dante Moore can process at an NFL level, especially after the snap and reading safeties and things of that nature, this is the game you're watching, because Curt Cignetti's defense is flying all over the place. They may only send 4 on any given play, but a lot of times you don't know which direction they're coming from, and you don't know which way the zone defenses are going to rotate. So what we're going to look at is Dante Moore this year against zone defense. And of course, as he's been with everything else, he's been outstanding. A 90.5 passing grade, completing 80% of his passes, almost 10 yards per attempt, 8 touchdowns, 8 big-time throws. The way that he is seeing the field and the level of calm that he is doing it with, right? You saw this at Penn State, winning that game just very calmly, doing his job, making the right throws into the right windows. That's something that's going to help him in this game against Indiana. I think that's the whole key, is him understanding what he sees pre-snap and understanding that it can change as he's in his drop back, reading those safeties, understanding where the protections need to be. And it helps that he's got the best pass protection in the country right now, but the communication up front is going to have to be spectacular. But if Dante Moore keeps ripping passes into zone coverage like he's been doing the first half of the season, then Oregon obviously has a really good shot to win this game.
And big get for Indiana this week too. D'Angelo Pond will be back this week. One of the best corners in the country. Maybe we see a lot of him against DeCorian Moore. That'd be an awesome matchup, but that's a huge get for Indiana this week, because if you don't have D'Angelo Pons against Dante Moore in that passing game right now, Indiana could be in trouble. But D'Angelo Pons, like I said, is one of the best corners in the country. He will be back from injury this week too. So I'm looking at the other guy who could be QB1 and maybe the Heisman Trophy winner this year too, and Fernando Mendoza. Can Oregon find a way to bother him in the pocket? Because if you give Fernando Mendoza time in the pocket, he's most likely going to pick you apart. But if you make an effort to put the projected top 10 pick under duress, he's far more average right now. When he's kept clean, Fernando Mendoza has the 9th best PFF grade in the country. When he's not blitzed, the 6th best PFF grade in the country. But when he's under pressure, only 43rd in America. And when he is blitzed, he's 41st in America too. Now, the issue for Oregon is that his secondary, I would say right now, is stronger than his pass rush. Right now, the Ducks are 63rd in team pass rush grade this year and 53rd in pressure rate, about 33%. They're also very content with sitting back in coverage. They send a blitz at the 79th highest rate in the FBS at only 34% this year. That last number might change in this game, because like I said, Fernando Mendoza, if you keep him clean and you don't blitz him, he's a guy that can really hurt you. But when you do blitz him and put him under pressure, he's far more average right now. I think that's the matchup to watch, is how much does Oregon blitz Fernando Mendoza in this game?
It is incredibly interesting, and I think the other thing I'm going to say, another potential first-round guy, you know I love him. If you're Fernando Mendoza, you better know where Dylan Thieneman is at all times. I think for both quarterbacks in this game, that's why it's going to be such a fascinating game, both for the outcome of it and for the the potential in the NFL draft, is that both of these quarterbacks are going to have to be excellent in this game at seeing things post-snap. I think that's the big thing, and both of them have done it well so far. Fernando Mendoza is a decisive guy. He's a quick decision maker, 2.6 average time to throw. We know when he makes a decision, boom, the ball's coming out right now. I think that's what really won them the game against Iowa late, is that he is incredibly decisive. He knows where he wants to go with the football, but whichever defense can make the other quarterback, even if they don't pressure them necessarily early in the count, because these are two teams that they can pass protect pretty well, right? I think what it comes down to is making the other quarterback just hesitate. Just a little. Who can make the other one flinch, especially with change in coverage schemes? You know Dan Lanning's the defensive genius. He's got a lot of movable pieces back there. Great linebackers to work with, too. We know Indiana with the simulated pressures and all of the rotations in the back end. It's going to be a fun game to watch and to find out which of these quarterbacks can process in a really big environment here.
Yeah, two guys I'm really looking at, too. If they do only send 4 rushers at Fernando Mendoza, Mateo Uiagalelei have a big game, and Mari Washington, too. Two guys that could be first-round picks in the NFL draft. Mari Washington's been great this year. year so far. Those are two guys that have to have big games against Indiana's offensive line, too. If they only send 4 rushers, those two probably need to step up big time. And Tatum Tuioti, too, is a really good player. But I'm looking at those two and whether or not they can get significant pressure on Fernando Mendoza in this game. Andrew Harbaugh actually is a great comp for Dante Moore in the chat. You want to guess who it is?
I know you've thrown C.J. Stroud at me a little bit, but go ahead.
It's Michael Myers. No emotion. Just remains focused on the task at hand, and he executes.
Oh, I didn't know if we could still use that after the Ashton.
Oh yeah, so I guess Ashton Ginty of quarterbacks, I guess, is the comp.
That's some hefty praise. That's some hefty praise right there. And I don't know if we can take it from Ginty either, because Ginty, you saw the Raiders let him go back to the stance.
Yes,
and that's why he had such a big game against the Bears last week.
Mm-hmm.
They took the stance away from him. Now they gave it back to him. It makes sense though. He's ice cold, and we're gonna find out which of these quarterbacks is more ice cold, especially in this game in Oregon. Man, oh man, what a fun environment!
What a whale of a ball game we've got, Dalton, in a matchup between two of my favorite coaches in the country, and Dan Lanning and Curt Cignetti, two quarterbacks who could be the number 1 overall pick in the draft and maybe the Heisman Trophy winner this year, and ultimately the game that could decide who goes to the Big Ten title game in December. Who do you got between Oregon and Indiana?
Fun game. I think these are two fantastic football teams. I do think both teams are also, we've talked a lot about the quarterbacks, but I think there is going to be a part of this where we're going to see who can run the football too against two really good front sevens. Is it going to be Indiana with Kalen Black and Roman Hemby? Is it going to be Oregon with Noah Whittington and their backs? What kind of trickery are we going to see on either side? It's going to be a lot of fun, but I've got Oregon 30-24. I think the home environment, they get it done. And Dante Moore and this pass protection especially, we have to remember right now, this is the best pass protecting team in college football, the Oregon Ducks. They were like this 2 years ago with Bo Nix as the quarterback. Darn near took it to a Pac-12 title and a playoff spot. I think Oregon's got the same build this year where Dante Moore back there is so comfortable behind this offensive line. Isaiah World, Alex Harkey, the interior guys have been spectacular. I think that's the key, is if Indiana can get enough pass rush. I think there are going to be moments when Mendoza is under pressure because Indiana's offensive line is very good, but we've seen in big spots before where the pass protection fails them a little, and Mendoza was under a lot of pressure when they played Iowa a couple weeks ago. I trust Oregon's pass protection and then Dante's ability to see the field right now. Oregon 30, Indiana 24.
I have Oregon winning as well, 28-21 over Indiana. I think Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza could go throw for throw in this game. That could be a pivotal game, for, like I said, for the Heisman race and the 2026 NFL Draft QB1 race. I do think Dante Moore will ultimately end up on top, though, and sets Oregon up for another run to the Big Ten title game in December. So very close game. It should be, I think it's probably going to be the best game of Week 7, but I got Oregon winning this one 28-21 at home, too, which is big for Oregon, I think, too. All right, next up, another huge game, big rivalry game. We got number 6 Oklahoma against Texas, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC in the Cotton Bowl. The storyline to know for this game is Oklahoma has a chance to end its arch rival's playoff aspirations. So Texas entered the year, what?
Arch rival, I get it.
Oh, good. That was
there
good.
You go. Nailed it.
I didn't even try to do it, but okay.
Sorry, I had
I'll
to
take
do
it.
Go ahead.
I'll take it. Texas entered the year with the number 1 team in the country in the preseason poll. The first time in program history they entered the year as the number 1 team in the country. But the Longhorns right now, not even midway through the season, are on the brink of effectively being eliminated from playoff contention. That's because they've dropped 2 of their first 5 games of the year to Ohio State and Florida. Florida already has 3 losses on the season. So since no 3-loss team made the playoff last year, the Longhorns may need to win their final 7 games in order to make the 12-team college football playoff. That includes this week's game against Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry at the Cotton Bowl, a team that right now is a perfect 5-0 on the season, and a team right now that is number 6 in the country.
Yeah, no, this is a tough task all of a sudden. And one, you look at Texas and you go, they still, if they beat Oklahoma, great stuff, but they also have a tough slate ahead of them. Mississippi State is not a pushover. Vandy, Georgia, Texas A&M, these are all tough games. Texas needs this game in the worst way. I think to have Arch Manning play really well against another very good defense with Brent Venables here. And Texas, it's something Steve Sarkisian mentioned. I'm going to get into it a little bit, but Texas got beat in the trenches against Florida.
Yep.
And that's not a great sign, and it was the same way they got beat against Ohio State. So all around, this is desperation time all of a sudden. And then with Oklahoma, there's some rumors. We don't know if it'll happen. There's some rumors we may see John Mateer back.
It makes my matchup impossible to preview.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Your job with
Oklahoma,
your job with Oklahoma's offense got a lot tougher right just now. But I mean, there are at least rumors that maybe we see him on Saturday, which doesn't help anybody here. It doesn't help Texas, certainly.
So, yeah. We don't know who the quarterback will be for Oklahoma this week, but we do know who the quarterback will be for Texas as Arch Manning, who Dalton got a lot of blame for that loss against Florida, but I think you and I will both agree that had more to do with the offensive line for Texas more than anything else.
Yeah, and look, they face another tough test with this Oklahoma defensive line. You look at R. Mason Thomas, Grayson Halton, these guys that Oklahoma has up front, they're a bunch of freaks too. They're not any less talented than Florida. This defensive line for Oklahoma, 21st in overall grade, 16th in run defense grade, 7th in the nation in positive grade rate in run defense. And then you look at a team that's second in the nation in sacks and 20th in pass rush grade. Look, if Texas offensive line is going to struggle, they're not going to win this game because we've seen it in 2 games already against Ohio State and against Florida last week. That is where they got beat first and foremost. They're struggling to run the football. By proxy, they are now putting Arch Manning in bad situations, falling behind in games and not allowing them to get into play action and everything like that. They need more balance in this offense. They need to win this game in the trenches. It's not been easy. And look, they were not expecting to get to this point in the year with Arch Manning as their leading rusher. That's not how this was supposed to go. It was supposed to be Trey Wisner or C.J. Baxter or Jarrett Gibson or somebody else. But the fact that Texas cannot control games in the trenches right now, especially on the offensive line, and again, it's something that needs to be talked about more and more loudly, is yes, Arch Manning's the new quarterback and he hasn't played fantastic football, but this team replaced 4 starters on the offensive line, and they have had a tough time in their big games now blocking people. I mean, you look at Ohio State. That was a key matchup in that game against a brand new D-line for Ohio State. Ohio State won that battle. Last week, Tyreek Sapp and those guys for Florida, way too much pressure on Arch Manning. 61% of dropbacks. He was under pressure last week. That happens this week. They will lose again because they just need this offensive line to be better, and then everything trickles down to the quarterback, the running backs, the receivers, everything else in the offense.
Yep. I have the Oklahoma offense in this game, which is absolutely impossible to preview because we have no idea who's playing quarterback this week. So Brent Venables said, I think a couple of days ago, he said he expects John Mateer to be out this week against Texas. So Michael Hawkins Jr. could be making another start for them. But then this morning, one of the, I believe Pete Thamel reported that John Mateer is really trying to play this week against Texas. We have this viral story. Dalton, did you see the Chipotle story, John Mateer?
No.
Okay, so
what, a Chipotle story? What's happening here?
This is why college football message boards are the absolute greatest, man. So apparently, someone at least posted on a message board that went viral. John Mateer is in Chipotle, and someone was behind John Mateer in line. The tortilla presser at that Chipotle looked at John Mateer and said, "Hey, how's your hand doing?" And he said, "It's going great." And John Mateer told the tortilla presser, "I'm 100% going to play against Texas."
The tortilla presser.
He's breaking stories right now. Yeah.
We're not talking Texas Tech here. We're tortilla presser. First of all, I'm most amazed at that story. That tortilla presser, is that a job? Is that an official job title?
Yeah, the guy at Chipotle. If you ask for like a burrito and they press your tortilla beforehand.
It's just okay.
That guy's breaking stories right now for the Red River rivalry. That's what I'm saying.
He's going to be the tortilla press pretty soon.
So yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's good. Oh, very nice. Very good.
I never heard of Eli. I got booed again by Eli. This is becoming a daily tradition now. I'm trying. Sorry, Eli. It's a couple of times we got arch rival. We probably got him twice in this preview. But
and I didn't see on Twitter too that tortilla presser did take a picture with John Mateer. So it's not a made up story. John Mateer was in that Chipotle that day.
Wow.
And he took a picture with him.
Well, with a broken hand, he's not going to let Mateer press any tortillas himself either.
That's true. This is why college message boards are the best, dude. It's just like these stories that come out of nowhere. Like, what are you talking? Like,
it sounds like one of those old jokes. So John Mateer walks into a Chipotle. Like, what? Listen,
I
don't even know how to react to any of this.
What I'm trying to say is my job here previewing this Oklahoma offense is absolutely impossible because I have no idea who's going to play quarterback.
I'd rather have the tortilla presser guy.
Maybe. What I'm going to do in this preview is I'm going to assume Brent Venables is not lying to us, and we will see Michael Hawkins Jr. this week because the timeline for Mateer's hand surgery is about at least 3 weeks. If he plays against Texas, that'll be, I think, 17 days after his surgery, which is less than 3 weeks. I'm going to trust Brent Venables here. I could be wrong, and maybe the Chipotle guy was right, and maybe Mateer's going to play. Maybe. But I'm going to treat it as if Brent Venables is telling us the truth here. So I'm going to treat it as if Michael Hawkins Jr. is the quarterback in this game, making his second consecutive start in this game and 6th of his career. Former 4-star recruit, true sophomore. He's a dynamic athlete. He had a max speed of over 22 miles per hour last year, according to our tracking data. But Hawkins has struggled as a passer. Only a 62.3 career passing grade, 3 big-time throws, 5 turnover-worthy plays in his career. He actually, Dalton, started last year's game against Texas because of injuries to Oklahoma's Jackson Arnold. Or actually, I think he was just benched for that game, actually. He had a 52.7 PFF grade in that game with only 4.9 yards per attempt in that game, too. Oklahoma's offense could not do anything against Texas' defense that one. So, in this one, Texas should focus on stopping Hawkins as a runner and Oklahoma's run game in general first in order to force Michael Hawkins Jr. to win as a drop-back passer. Longhorns right now have the 5th best run defense grade in college football. They're also 5th in the country in yards per attempt allowed at 3.3. The Sooners, meanwhile, are only 114th in America in terms of yards per attempt at 4.3 and only 91st in run blocking grade this year at 56.2. So if Texas does have the significant advantage in run defense that it appears to have on paper, Oklahoma's offense, once again like last year, could be in a lot of trouble if Michael Hawkins Jr. is the quarterback. If it is Mateer, who knows, man? I don't know. Then we'll have a great game. But I think Hawkins, if he is the quarterback and Texas' run defense dominates like it should, Oklahoma could be in trouble in this game.
I mean, I think I would expect Oklahoma to run the football a good amount anyway, because honestly, I think that's the reason Florida beat Texas last week is because they ran the ball well and set up the layers of their offense with the play-action game for DJ Lagway. I think that does play a big part, right? And Texas defense is, for the most part, the first half against Florida was not great. There was also a block punt mixed in there, but Texas defense has played pretty darn good football throughout most of this season, right? Maybe it's not all the way to the level of last year's defense, but it's still pretty darn good. I'd say it's a top 10 unit in the country. So I think for all of these reasons, again, if Mateer plays, it changes the equation a little bit. But I think even if he does, I think we're getting a pretty low-scoring game here. I think we've got two defenses that feel like they have the advantage, and I think a big thing for both teams is going to be wanting to run the football and keep their quarterbacks out of those pressure situations.
Definitely. So ultimately, Dalton, in a game that's one of the biggest rivalries in college football, in a game that we have no idea if one of the Heisman candidates at quarterback is going to play, who do you got between Texas and Oklahoma?
I think the stat that keeps rolling through my head right now, Texas in their 2 big games, Ohio State and Florida, their offensive line is graded a 60 as a unit. Not great. It has to be better against this Oklahoma defensive line if they're going to win. If they put Arch Manning in bad spots, in obvious passing scenarios, again, like they did last week against Florida, they can lose this game, especially when you consider all of the looks that Brent Venables can throw at a young quarterback. I'm doing this despite the quarterback situation. I'm taking the Sooners 20 to 17. I think we're getting an ugly defensive fistfight of a football game, just how Brent Venables would want it regardless of his quarterback. If he gets Mateer and they at least even have Mateer's legs to just run the football, even if the throwing's a little bit compromised, I think that does make a big difference. But I think even with Hawkins, and look, it's going to be conservative on their side. I really think for Oklahoma's offense, they're going to want to just complement their defense and run the football. And if they can crack an occasional big play, then cool. I worry there is just not much in the big games we've seen of Texas. There's not much in their offense that I know is a constant, right? Their offensive line has not shown up in these 2 games. They have not been able to run the ball in either of these 2 games. They've put Arch Manning in bad spots, and he has been inconsistent. Is that the best way to put it?
Yeah.
I don't think he's the worst quarterback in the country or anything. It's not, some people relax. But I do think it's been streaky, and there's 2 drives where you'll see that he looks great, and then the next 2, it's not so great. He's missing throws. I think Oklahoma's defense is going to be able to keep them in this game and possibly win it. I'm going to take the Sooners 20 to 17.
So you're saying effectively Texas' playoff hopes after being number 1 in the country preseason are over?
They would. They certainly would be if I think this is as 50-50 as it gets. I think it's going to be ugly. You're going to get really turnovers probably decide this game.
I think it's going to be ugly too, but I do have Texas winning 21 to 17, similar to your final score, except Texas winning this ball game. If the Chipotle guy was not lying to us, John Mateer was playing, maybe I would go with the Sooners. If
John Mateer doesn't have an NIL deal with Chipotle by Monday,
he needs to.
Yeah,
absolutely. We should get how the draft prospects have their Chipotle order that you can order the Abdul Carter.
Yeah,
Bowl
all of that, and we don't even know what he ordered.
Yeah, We should have the John Mateer. If he plays and wins this game, we need to get the John Mateer order at Chipotle as a promotion for them. That'd be great. But anyways, I got Texas.
An extra pressed tortilla.
Yeah, exactly. I have Texas winning this game, though. It could be an ugly game. And even if Mateer does play, that surgery was on his throwing hand. So like you said, he could be compromised as a passer in this game, too. It could be an ugly defensive game, but I think the Longhorns will pull it off, keep their playoff hopes alive, and bounce back from their loss to Florida last week. So I have Texas 21-17. We still have so many games left in this preview. We still have 8 more games left on this preview. But before we get to them, got to talk about the sponsor of the show. That is Fabric by Gerber Life. Parenting is filled with high-pressure decisions, and it can be difficult to tell if we've made the right choice for a kid's future. But here's a simple decision you can make today that could have a meaningful impact on your kid's future: opening a UGMA Kids Investment Account with Fabric to start their investment journey early and give them a financial head start. Fabric by Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With a kids investment account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. Kids can't invest when they're minors, but a UGMA Kids Investment Account allows you to invest on their behalf now and gives their investments more time to grow. There are no contribution limits, multiple tax advantages, and they're SIPC insured up to $500,000. Plus, no commission fees and just a low, flat monthly maintenance fee. Fabric has partnered with Gerber Life, trusted by millions of families like yours for over 50 years. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child today at meetfabric.com/PFFcollege. That's meetfabric.com/PFFcollege. meetfabric.com/PFFcollege. This is a paid promotion for the Fabric UGMA product and not for investment advisory services. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Custodial services provided by Apex Clear Corporation. All of this includes risk. Terms may apply. Learn more at meetfabric.com. All right, next up in our preview is NC State at number 16 Notre Dame. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. The storyline to know in this game is Notre Dame continues to walk the tightrope right now. So obviously they began their year with 2 losses to a pair of current top 5 teams in Miami and Texas A&M, losing both games by a combined 4 points. The Fighting Irish have rebounded really nicely, though, from those 2 losses with 3 straight wins over Purdue, Arkansas, and Boise State, winning each game by an average of 30 points. But one more loss from Notre Dame likely eliminates the Fighting Irish from college football playoff contention, and they host a 4-2 NC State team this week that was the only team to take down number 19 Virginia this year.
Yeah, no, I think what you have for Notre Dame is this is one of the more competitive games left on the schedule. This game, the USC game, which I believe is next week. They're playing USC next week?
Next week or the week after. It's the next game.
The USC. Yeah. These are the 2 weeks, I think, if Notre Dame gets through these 2, then you really start to talk about the possibilities with their schedule and just the rest of the games that you feel like all they need to do is take care of business, right? I mean, you look at right now, I know the Navy game is mixed in there, but I think this is the stretch now that North Carolina State, USC, those are the next 2 weeks. And then their last 5, Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. You really feel like, I know Navy's tough, it's always a weird matchup, but they always beat Navy. So it's one of those things where, yes, Navy can be a challenge, but Notre Dame, you still have to feel good about that. If Notre Dame gets through these next 2 games, we really start talking about this 10-2, 10 wins in a row thing as a possibility. Yep. I think now this is a very good offense NC State has, right? We know that they've lost a couple games recently to Duke and Virginia Tech, which isn't great for their momentum in the ACC, but I do think for Notre Dame, we have seen for 3 weeks now the level of urgency needed, knowing that they have to win 10 in a row, but there's 2 tough ones coming up, and this is the first against a really good offense.
And how about last year? They lost in week 2 to Northern Illinois, and we said, hey, they have to win 10 in a row to make the playoff. And they did just that. And now they're trying to do the same exact thing, where they win 10 in a row to make the playoff, and they look pretty good right now. With Dalton, you have the NC State offense in this game. Both offenses feature superstars at running back. We knew Jeremiah Love was a star going into the year, But this guy for NC State, Hollywood Smothers, has really come out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, for as much as C.J. Bailey is a good young quarterback, he's got a good tight end in Justin Jolie back there that we really like. Terrell Anderson's been a great deep threat at receiver for him. But I think this offense runs best when it does run through Hollywood Smothers at running back. And look, this game may be played in South Bend, but they're bringing Hollywood to South Bend. So what do you have here in this guy? He's got excellent vision and patience. Those are the two things that stick out to me. He breaks tackles. He's got where's my number here? An 83.3 rushing grade, almost 700 rushing yards on the season, 32 missed tackles forced, among the league leaders in the nation, right up there with Ahmad Hardy from Missouri. And I think his ability to stay patient and create explosive runs, especially off of the edges, that sets up the rest of this offense. It sets up the play action game for C.J. Bailey to really work through the middle of the field, especially and getting those linebackers to step up. The one thing for Notre Dame I've noticed lately, though, is they've stepped up in run defense as well, especially their defensive line, Gabriel Rubio and those guys up front. They've done a nice job of creating space for their linebackers, eating double teams and penetrating through gaps. So I think that is an interesting battle. Can Smothers stay patient enough to find creases in this defensive line, or is Notre Dame going to plug all the gaps like they've been doing the last 3 weeks? They've gotten a lot better in run defense. We've talked about them, Leonard more in their coverage a whole lot, but their run defense has gotten better too. So I think for Notre Dame, the idea is going to be to not let NC State be two-dimensional. If Smothers gets in a rhythm and he starts ripping off explosive runs and breaking open field tackles, then that's when NC State starts scoring a lot of points.
Yeah, Hollywood Smothers right now has the second most rushing yards in the country, only behind Ahmad Hardy, and the second most yards after contact in the country, again, only behind Ahmad Hardy right now. So he has been a star, a breakout star for NC State this year. I'm also looking at the run game for Notre Dame in this game. Can NC State bring down Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price? So listen, Notre Dame, we know, largely ignored their run game in the season opening loss to Miami. And offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock heard all the cries from us and also the fans to run the damn ball a lot more. Since week 2, the Fighting Irish have run the ball on 55.8% of their plays, the third highest rate in the Power 4. Their star running back, Jeremiah Love, has 411 rushing yards since week 2, top 20 in the country. 22 broken tackles are 10th in the country, 285 yards after contact are 13th. And his backup, Jadarian Price, has been outstanding too. He is second among Power 4 backs with an 88.7 rushing grade since week 2. Both of them putting up those numbers, even though Notre Dame is only 81st in run blocking grade this year. NC State's defense has done a really good job with their run fits and winning up front. Right now, they're 29th in the country with only 1.1 rushing yards before contact per attempt. But Dalton, the Wolfpack, have had major issues bringing down ball carriers this year. They average 3.7 yards after contact allowed per carry. That's the highest in the Power 4, the most in the Power 4. 16% missed tackle rate on runs is 89th in college football too. So again, they do a great job of hitting the ball carriers, but not bringing them down. That could be a major issue against two elite tackle breakers in Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price.
Especially when those two guys, when they get out on the edge in open space, good luck, because you've got Price, he's really shifty, and you've got Love just hurtling all over people and running through them and everything. I think that is a huge problem. Look, it's hard enough to stop Notre Dame and the big offensive line and any of the run schemes that they're going to throw at you and the tight ends and everything like that. But then it's when you get these guys in open space that's a problem. And if you don't bring them down, they're going to house it, especially Love with the track level speed that he's got. I mean, you just look at, as an example, let's say for NC State against Virginia Tech. They lost to Virginia Tech a few weeks ago. 247 rush yards they gave up in that game. That's exactly what can happen. If NC State doesn't stop the run, Notre Dame, same thing. They've got balance, and they've been playing with balance lately. Let's not forget C.J. Carr and those guys on the outside. They've been great too. They can loosen you up. They can loosen you up in the front seven too. So as always, if Love and Price, if they find a crease, well, you better bring them down earlier. They're going to hit some home runs on you.
Yeah, like you just said, you can't stack the box that much against Notre Dame either, because C.J. Carr has been outstanding this year, and they have really good weapons on the outside too.
Yeah.
So it's you got to tackle. You got to tackle for NC State in this game. Like I said, they've done a great job in fitting it up and hitting ball carriers, but not a good job at all of bringing down ball carriers too. And Notre Dame, like I said, is below average in run blocking grade this year, so NC State might have the advantage up front, but they do not have the advantage in terms of bringing down Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. Ultimately, Dalton, will Notre Dame win and continue their quest to make the playoff once again, or will NC State deliver a fatal blow to their playoff hopes?
Boy, the resurgence in coverage last week for Notre Dame makes me, and I know it's Boise State, they're not exactly an explosive passing team, but that makes you feel really good. And again, I'm just gonna throw it out there. If you're NC State, if you're CJ Bailey, first step one, do not throw at number 15. Just don't do it. Just if you do, well, I'm probably going to talk about it on Sunday.
Yep.
Because if you do it more than maybe you get once or twice, maybe that's even then.
2 picks and 6 targets last week, right?
Right. Do not throw at number 15 if you want a chance in this game. But no, I still like Notre Dame's momentum offensively. They only scored 28 last week on a very good Boise defense, and that's really because Notre Dame there's a couple of drives that just didn't finish. They're red hot on offense still. I think the run game, like you mentioned, and the lack of tackling. If you can't tackle Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, you're in for a long day. I'm actually going to take Notre Dame big again in this one. I'm going to take him 38-14. I just think this is a huge challenge. If NC State can control the ball and run it with Smothers and get in their play action game, then I think you start talking about some things. But again, this Notre Dame offense, we have yet to see anything but themselves slow them down. And last week easily could have been 45-7. And Boise State, credit to them, they made a couple of big fourth down stops. I don't know if that's going to happen this week. I've got Notre Dame.
Yeah, I got Notre Dame too. 41-20. That Notre Dame offense is proven to be difficult for any defense in the country to stop. Right now, I think Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price will carry them to victory, and when NC State loads the box to stop those two, CJ Carr will make some big-time throws when he's needed to, too. I love Hollywood Smothers. He could have a big game, too, against Notre Dame, but I just like Notre Dame's balance on offense overall. I think they'll win pretty convincingly over NC State, too. 41-20 is my final score right there. All right, next up, we got Florida at number 5, Texas A&M, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Dalton, we have, I think, the most loaded night slate I've ever seen.
Oh, we're going to be up all night.
There's 6 games in this night slate that we're previewing. 6. Usually when we get to the night slate, we're like, okay, we have 2 games left to preview. We have 6 more on this preview show to preview.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's a stacked. No light slates.
No
light slates.
Good Lord. All right, we got Florida at number 5, Texas A&M, though, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Storylines to know is, can Florida slay a dragon from the Lone Star State in back-to-back weeks? So the Gators started the year 1-3. Head coach Billy Napier was facing immense pressure, delivered some hope to the program, and that came this past weekend. Florida took down 9th-ranked Texas by a final score of 29-21. The Gators have another chance to beat another top 10 team from the state of Texas this week as they travel to number 5 Texas A&M, who's a perfect 5-0 on the season.
Well, all of a sudden, A&M and Mike Elko, I think there's even a quote from him floating around that he says that Florida is the most talented team they have played so far. And considering they've played Notre Dame,
Auburn,
and they've played Auburn, and even, obviously, Florida's got more talent than Mississippi State, but that's still a darn good football team he played last week. That says a lot. And look, Florida may be 2-3, but as they showed last week, they're a threat.
Yep.
They're absolutely a threat. And even the Miami game, their defense kept them in that game for a long, long time. The LSU game, they only gave up 13 points on defense to LSU. So, look, this Gator team, if you take them lightly, it's the same thing that happened last year to a couple of teams. You're right. They are the Dragon Slayer, and they can beat you any given week because they do have – it's a lot of young talent, but they do have that much talent that can beat you any given week.
And PFF's power rankings, you can find at pff.com, which, it takes into account your what you've done so far, too, but – it also takes into account talent a lot. Florida, even though they're 2-3, is still number 25 in the power ranking.
I mean, they haven't lost games in super dominant fashion. They were in the Miami game really until the last 10, 12 minutes or so, and their defense just ran out of gas. And Miami's just so dominant in the trenches. And again, the LSU game, that was pretty much all on Lagway, right? Their defense gave up 13 points in that game. So I think you're looking at a team that is incredibly dangerous. So I think that's what you're looking at with Florida and A&M. I think Mike Elko knows, don't take it lightly. And they haven't. And A&M, I think it still holds that they have not played a complete 60 minutes of their best football. Florida might make them do it this week at home.
Absolutely. So you have the Texas A&M offense, which in recent weeks we thought this would be an elite run game going into the year. It wasn't that for the first couple of weeks, but over the last few weeks, Dalton, they have run the hell out of the football.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the way that they've done it, I think we thought there might be more diversity to this run game this year, with Colin Klein as the offensive coordinator. But to me, there hasn't necessarily been that. I think what you're getting is that in this run game, they've just decided, hey, we have to be the more physical team out here. We've got one of the biggest offensive lines in the country, one of the most experienced offensive lines in the country. Let's take Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels and Reuben Owens, and let's run inside zone, and let's see if teams really want to get after it. And the last couple weeks, they've been outstanding running between the tackles. Now, you get a different challenge here with Florida because their defensive line, a lot like Auburn. So, it gives you some encouragement that, look, they ran down the pipe on Auburn and had success. That's an elite run defense team. You're getting it again with Florida. Check out this Florida defensive line, okay? Actually, I should say run defense between the tackles, which is a heavy part of this defensive line. 4th in the nation in run defense grade between the tackles. 11th in yards per carry allowed. 13th in explosive runs allowed, okay, or 13th fewest, I should say there. So what you're getting at here is a stout Florida defensive line. You want a crazy stat? 9 different Florida defensive linemen have a run defense grade of at least 70. 9 of them. When you talk about star edge players, George Gums and Tyreek Sapp, you talk about monsters on the interior. I'll tell you a guy I really like watching this Florida defense more this week, the sophomore nose tackle, Micah Burrow. 6'4", 350, right over your center, brick wall. Micah Burrow is another one. Jeremiah McLeod. They have just got monsters all over the place on this D-line. There is so much size, and they can get into either a 4-man or a 5-man front when you need to. If you throw tight ends out there, they're going to put 5 of these guys out there, and they're going to let their linebackers clean it up behind them. But I think you are going to get an absolute war between the trenches, between Florida's defensive line and A&M's offensive line, and these backs are going to have to work through some contact because they're going to feel it pretty early. We're going to see this week, once again, Auburn, we expected a tough matchup in the trenches. A&M won it. They grounded out slowly. Mississippi State, we liked A&M with the advantage there because Mississippi State's better on the back end than the front end. This week, boy, I'm telling you, there's going to be a war in the trenches. If A&M's just going to line up and go, boom, handoff, inside zone, well, that 5-on-5 up front, what that's going to look like, you're going to have a lot of fun watching NFL-caliber players in the trenches in this game.
Yeah, I'm looking at Florida's offense, and really, has Dallas Wilson, the true freshman wide receiver, has he unlocked this Florida passing game? Because Florida's passing game was a mess going into last week's game against Texas. The Gators averaged just negative .183 EPA per pass up until week 6. That was the 5th worst in the Power 4. So it's understandable, Dalton, when DJ Lagway came out and said, hey, this offense is going to pop soon and it's going to be really hard to contain very, very soon. Plenty of people looked at him and said, okay, sure, DJ, let's see what happens. He probably said that, though, because he knew that he was getting Dallas Wilson back from injury. The true freshman wide receiver made his college debut against Texas last week, missed the first 4 games, though, with a foot injury. The former top 50 recruit shined, catching 6 of his 7 targets for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns with a perfect 158.3 passer rating when targeted. The Gators averaged .243 EPA per pass in the upset victory to go along with a 73.6 receiving grade, their best marks all season, even better than the Long Island game they had in week 1, too. And that was all against a Texas defense that's among the nation's top 15 teams in pass rush grade and coverage grade this year. Texas A&M is 29th in pass rush grade and 44th in coverage grade, and they need to make sure that Dallas Wilson and the other true freshman receiver, too, and Verno Brown III, do not beat them like they did against the Longhorns.
What a duo they have. 2 true freshmen who we believe are 2 of the 4 best true freshman receivers in the country right now, along with DeCorian Moore at Oregon and Malachi Toney, who Florida saw a couple weeks ago for Miami. Those 2 guys, you think about this year and then you think about next year, one more year with DJ Lagway, it could be special. And Dallas Wilson did change the dynamic of this offense. I think the other thing that changed the dynamic of this offense is something I mentioned in the review show of the game against Texas. Florida came out with the intent to run the football. Now, 4.3 yards per carry isn't spectacular, but it's more about the idea of this offense needing layers in it and not asking DJ Lagway to carry you constantly. 13 play action passes last week for Florida was a season high. I think that really played a big part. I think Billy Napier finally got into the game plan that he wanted to. I think the first half especially was really good for this team schematically. I think they're going to have to do it again because, against this A&M defense, you still don't want to, especially against all the looks Mike Elko can throw at you with zone coverage and blitzing and things like that. You don't want to just drop back and throw the football, especially with a young quarterback on the road. So I do think it's still going to be a matter of Florida running the football first, and then we get to, in that second layer, getting the ball to Wilson and Brown, and this offense can be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dalton, last week, Florida beat a top 10 team from Texas in Texas. Will they beat a top 5 team from Texas and Texas A&M this week?
I think we are going to get a battle. I'll tell you what, Florida, probably the best 2 and 3 team in the country, right? And again, they didn't get blasted front to back by Miami. They lost 20 to 13 or 20 to 10 against LSU. Turnovers really hurt them in that game. I think this defense, the way that they've played, this defense is really one of the better units in the country. Probably top 20, we think, if we did some rankings. It's a really good defense with a really good D-line. I think this is going to be another ugly physical game like Texas A&M has played the last couple games against Auburn and Mississippi State. I am going to take Marcel Reed and the Aggies to get it done at home. I've got it 24-20. I think you get another close game. And Florida, at the end of the day, look, they're playing really good teams week in and week out. The schedule's tough. I just think on the road, this one might be a little too tall. And A&M still not playing 100% their best football. If they get that finally in this game, especially with both dimensions of their offense, then it could be a little bit wider. And we have obviously yet till now mentioned Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion and the things they're doing on the outside. So we've got dynamic receivers, a war in the trenches. I think a really close defensive football game. But give me A&M 24-20.
I have A&M winning too. I have it a little bigger. I have 31-20. Texas A&M beating Florida. I think both quarterbacks could take advantage of these secondaries in this game, and I have more trust right now in Marcel Reed than I do in DJ Lagway. But I do think Florida keeps it close for most of the game. But I think Texas A&M's balance on offense ultimately wins this game at home too, which I think is big for Texas A&M with that crowd too. So I have Texas A&M winning, continuing their undefeated season with a 31-20 win over Florida. Next up, big Big 12 game. We got Kansas at number 9, Texas Tech, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. Storylines to know is Texas Tech looks to continue to prove it's the class of the Big 12 right now. The Red Raiders are off to a scorching hot start to their season, starting off 5-0 for the first time in 12 years. That's led to Texas Tech being ranked 9th in the most recent AP poll, its highest ranking since the 2008 season. No other Big 12 team is even in the top 15 of the most recent AP poll either. They put their unbeaten record to the test this week against a Kansas squad that's 4-2 to start the year, and the only 2 losses Kansas had were to a couple of teams that I have in my current top 25 in Missouri and Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, Kansas, after getting a couple of easy wins early in the year, they lost to Missouri, bounced back and beat West Virginia, then lost to Cincinnati in a very tight game, then beat UCF in a very tight game, and Kansas, like we saw last year, is very used to playing in these close games. And I think the big thing for the Jayhawks is, look, anytime Jalen Daniels is your quarterback, you might be on the roller coaster a little bit, but he can also win you any football game and pull off a big upset. So Texas Tech absolutely has a threat with this quarterback and with this offense, especially if they don't prevent big plays this week, which they've done a really nice job of. But Kansas is always a threat with this offense, and if you let Jalen Daniels get in a rhythm and hit a few home runs, then you got yourself a ball game here.
You have the Texas Tech offense, Dalton, in this game. What should we know when the Red Raiders have the ball?
I think a big thing for me, we've talked a lot about, in the past, Baron Morton and the receivers and pass protection and keeping Morton clean. But I think the X factor for Kansas, and look, there are 2 losses. Let me say this first. They've played 2 unbelievably good running teams in Missouri and Cincinnati. Those are not easy teams to stop the run against. So I think there might be a little bit of a caveat here. But when you look at Kansas' run defense, in their 4 wins, they have an 86.8 run defense grade and only allow just over 4 yards a carry in those 2 losses to Missouri and Cincinnati. Again, really good, multiple rushing threats, mobile quarterbacks on both those teams, but 61.1 run defense grade, over 6 yards per carry allowed. What happens here at Kansas, their defense they don't have, big, huge SEC-type defensive linemen, right? A lot of those guys float between 290 and 300. They're not the biggest team in the world, and what you've seen, I think, in both of those games is a little bit of wearing down, right? And I think when it comes to Texas Tech, we haven't talked about the run game much, but look, they've got two pretty good backs in Jacoby Williams and Cameron Dickey, who have both been playing just about equally well. When you look at Dickey, 5.3 yards per attempt, 17 missed tackles forced so far. Williams at 5.3, Dickey at 4.7. Both of them 17 missed tackles forced, both of them 9 explosive runs. It's not the most complicated run game. It's a top 5 rate of inside zone actually for Texas Tech, so you know they're coming right at you. Maybe a little bit of counter and pulling guards here and there, but for the most part, I think Williams and Dickey, both in the running and the receiving game, especially Jacoby Williams as a receiver, has been outstanding. This team has balance on offense, too. It's not just Baron Morton and Caleb Douglas and Terrence Carter in this passing game. The idea that they're a two-dimensional offense and possibly could wear down Kansas slowly as time goes on, I think it gives them options. Because, look, even against Utah, a very good coverage team, a lot of man-to-man coverage. Texas Tech had to run the ball well in that game. Will Hammond obviously played a part in that. I don't know if we'll see him in this game. Probably not. But you know, you look at last week against Houston. Houston's secondary is really good. What did Texas Tech have to do? Balance it out, run the football, manufacture offense. They can beat you in a lot of different ways, but I think Kansas' run defense has got to be better than they were in those 2 losses against Missouri and Cincinnati. Again, the numbers, are they a little tilted because those are 2 of the best rushing teams we have? Yes. But I think the point still holds of their front 7 needing to play well.
Yeah, I'm looking at Texas Tech's defense and Kansas' offense and whether or not the Red Raiders can put a cap on the deep ball from Jalen Daniels in this game. So Jalen Daniels is known as a big game hunter. Last year, he led the Power 4 with a 12.4-yard average at the target, and his 7.1% big-time throw rate was tied with Jackson Dart for second in the Power 4 too. This year, his average depth of target is still 10.2 yards, which is a top 15 mark in the Power 4. And it's a major reason why the Jayhawks are currently 15th in the nation with a 15% explosive pass rate this year. Now, Texas Tech's secondary last year was a major issue. They had the 4th worst coverage grade in the Power 4 at 55.5. But thanks in large part to the transfer portal, the Red Raiders have completely turned that secondary around. Texas Tech right now has the best coverage grade in America at 93, and they're 24th in the nation in explosive pass rate allowed at about 10%. And also, in order to hit those deep shots, Jalen Daniels, of course, needs time in the pocket. His average time to throw this year is 2.96 seconds. That's the 28th longest in the country. Kansas, meanwhile, is 49th in pass blocking grade this year. Jalen Daniels likely won't have the time against a Texas Tech defense that's currently 3rd in the nation in pass rush grade this year at 90.4, and their star edge rusher David Bailey currently leads the nation with 31 pressures this year too.
But Texas Tech has also done a much better job this year of containing big plays, like you mentioned, and some of the transfers that they've gotten in. Bryce Pollock's been outstanding, right? I mean, you've got some guys on the outside. Ashton Hampton at corner has been really good. Jacob Rodriguez at the second level in coverage. I mean, their coverage unit is probably even more improved than their defensive line is the top 3 unit in the country, but their coverage unit is actually the most improved part of this team. And the fact that you can't just attack this Texas Tech team. There's so many teams, right? You know, I think about that. They have great defensive lines, but the secondary is mediocre, so you can get rid of the football and you got a chance, right? I think about even at the NFL level right now, the New York Giants are kind of like that, right? A little bit of the secondary struggling a lot of weeks, right? But this Texas Tech team, well, this secondary is coming to hit too. I mean, it's a problem. So you have to get rid of the football. You don't have Jalen Daniels. You don't have 3.5 seconds every play in this game because this is the best pass rush you're going to see all season. They don't need to blitz you much. They're just sending those 4 guys, and David Bailey's coming, Romello Heights coming, all those guys on the inside. So I think Daniels is going to have to. Is the front 4 going to speed up Daniels first and foremost, and then second, if Texas Tech, if their improvement in coverage is real, are they going to make him work underneath where he doesn't often want to work? And he's the 14th best deep passer in the country we have graded right now. But we know underneath and late in plays, Daniels can take some chances. These might be some tight windows this time because Texas Tech, they have majorly improved in coverage.
Absolutely. Ultimately, Dalton, will Texas Tech continue to prove why they're the best team in the Big 12 right now, or will Kansas deliver a major upset to the Red Raiders?
I think so. I still think Kansas, their linebackers struggle in coverage, which I think could be very much to the advantage of these two backs, Williams and Dickey, and their tight end, Terrence Carter. I think that could play a big factor. And also, again, I just think this Texas Tech defense, if you're playing them, especially in that building, speaking of tortilla pressers, I just think this defense is a different unit than anything else in the Big 12 and is one of the elite units in the country. I think their D-line controls this game once again. I have Texas Tech 34, Kansas 24. Kansas, as always, schemes up things very well. Jalen Daniels can hit a few bombs here and there, and he's obviously very mobile, so there are going to be times where he's going to have to escape pressure and make plays out on the move. But I think Texas Tech has a lot of balance, and they're really rolling right now. I think they completely understand the identity of their football team. As long as Baron Morton just keeps the ship right on offense, they're going to be just fine.
I have Texas Tech as well, 38-21 in this game. I don't think Texas Tech's defensive line is going to allow Jalen Daniels the time to hit his patented deep shots, and even if he has the time to hit them, this Texas Tech secondary has been outstanding this year with the best coverage grade in the country. I think the Red Raiders will take care of business at home and further establish themselves as the clear favorite in the Big 12 right now with a 17-point win at home over Kansas. Next up, we got number 10 Georgia at Auburn, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. The storyline to know, Dalton, is Georgia on upset alert in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. So Georgia responded well to its loss to Alabama a couple weeks ago with a 35-14 win over Kentucky this past week. They now go on the road, though, to take on a 3-2 Auburn team in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. This is the 130th meeting between Georgia and Auburn, the second most in FBS history behind only Minnesota and Wisconsin. And Georgia, even though they're number 10 in the country and Auburn's 3-2 on the year, Georgia's still only 3.5-point favorites in this game, Dalton, according to DraftKings Sportsbook right now.
I think that's because Georgia, to be honest with you, has not all around played the cleanest football. I think defensively, obviously, we've talked about the lack of pass rush. That, I think, has hurt them. Even Kentucky didn't, for their standards especially, they didn't look horrible on offense last week against Georgia. And offensively, you still get the feeling, and look, they scored 41 on Tennessee and won at Tennessee, but you still get the feeling that Georgia's trying to figure things out offensively with Gunnar Stockton and just what the ideal offense for them looks like. They want to run the ball with Nate Frazier and those guys. Chauncey Bowens had a big week the last couple weeks, but I think there still feels like this element of Georgia right now where they're not complete yet. They're trying to still figure it out, but trying to figure it out through the gauntlet of an SEC schedule can be tough, and I don't think they've played up to their full potential yet. Now, neither has Auburn, especially their last two games. So you've got an interesting mix, and then as we know, this rivalry, it's always weird.
Yeah.
Every time you get a game that you think is going to be a blowout, then these two play close games, and then you think it's going to be a close game, and it's just, this is one of the weirder rivalries. So I think the spread kind of makes sense when you consider, if you look at just how these two teams are playing right now.
So you actually have the Auburn offense, which we know loves to run the football, but Georgia's run defense, Dalton, this year has been outstanding.
I'm going to answer that with, do they? Do they love to run the football, Max? Because I thought they did.
It's
and
true.
Honestly, more than any player in this game, the guy I'm looking at for Auburn is Hugh Freeze. Max, their last two games, I know I've ranted about this before, but we're going to do it again. Their last two games, losses to Texas A&M and I'm forgetting the other one, not Mississippi State. What was the other one they lost to?
Goodness.
I'm losing it because I was going into rant mode.
It was Texas A&M.
And Oklahoma. Sorry, it was Oklahoma. Sorry.
This,
all these SEC teams. There's so many of them. Against Oklahoma, against A&M. Those two games, close games, mind you, lost both by one score. They threw the ball 73% of the time. Top 5 rate in the country in that span. All of a sudden, after their first 3 games of running the ball and asking Jackson Arnold to be complimentary and throw it only when we have the looks and when we have one-on-ones with Cam Coleman and things like that, they just decided they were going to throw it every play. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me then. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me now, especially with all of the sacks that Jackson Arnold has been taking. It's been huge for their offense, losing all of these yards on sacks. Now, if you're going to rewind and get back to the foundation and you're going to run it and be balanced 50-50 at least, maybe even more run than pass, boy, I don't know if you're picking the right week to do it, because the one constant we do have in this Georgia defense is just an outstanding run defense. So if there's anything that's never going to go away from Kirby Smart, boy, it is some fundamentally sound run defense and good tackling. Here we go, Max. Georgia's run defense. 3rd in run defense grade. 2nd in yards per carry. 1st in yards after contact per carry. 2nd in explosive run rate allowed. And the 4th fewest missed tackles in run defense in the country. Their second-level defenders, especially to me, C.J. Allen at linebacker, K.J. Bolden at safety. Dalen Everett out at corner has an 80 run defense grade. Kyron Jones, Ja'Cory Thomas, Justin Williams, they just have so many guys that can hurt you in run defense. They tackle really well. They're extremely sound. You're going to have a hard time now beating Georgia on the ground when you've gone away from the ground game the last 2 weeks. So now you got a lack of reps in there and a lack of rhythm, but you're going to need to do it, because do we really want Jackson Arnold dropping back another 50 times on this defense that's still very talented on the back end, despite Georgia's lack of pass rush? It gives you a chance, Jackson Arnold, with the Georgia's lack of pass rush. Maybe you don't take 10 he took against Oklahoma? 10 sacks it was? This is a weird one for Hugh Freeze, because to me, normally against Georgia, I think quarterbacks are beating them, right? Joey Aguilar, Ty Simpson. Honestly, Cutter Boley didn't even look that bad last week for Kentucky against Georgia. But Auburn needs to run the football. Problem is you run into a brick wall. So I think Hugh Freeze is actually the most interesting person on the field this Saturday in this game, just to see what in the world the offensive plan is, because I have not been a huge fan of it their last couple games. And the problem is he might have to go back to it in this game, because this is an absolute I'm telling C.J. Allen, man, in run defense. It doesn't get much better than that, for sure.
That's why he might be a first-round pick in this draft this year. He's been a star linebacker for Georgia's defense this year. I'm looking at Georgia's offense in this game and whether or not Auburn can get after Gunnar Stockton. So Gunnar Stockton has been significantly better from a clean pocket than when under pressure this year. 82.1 PFF grade when kept clean this year, versus only a 48.4 grade under pressure, which is 88th in the country among all quarterbacks. But fortunately for him, Georgia's offensive line has done a good job at giving him clean pockets to work with. Right now, a 75.7 pass blocking grade as a team, top 30 in the entire country. But one potential issue for Georgia in this game is that both of its starting tackles in Monroe Freeling and Ernest Green III are both questionable for this game too. Auburn, meanwhile, they've pressured quarterbacks on about 35% of dropbacks, which is 35th in the country. But if they do not put Gunnar Stockton under constant duress, the Tigers are in serious trouble in this game. Right now, Dalton, Auburn has the worst coverage grade in the entire Power 4 at 51.3. And the second worst explosive pass rate in the country at 20%. If Gunnar Stockton has clean pockets to work from in this game, he and Georgia's very talented stable of weapons could have a field day against this Auburn secondary.
And Stockton, he is a bit of a gunslinger sometimes too. He's not afraid of some of those tight windows and taking those deep shots downfield. I think there are going to be opportunities. I think it does start the same way for Auburn in run defense with Keldrick Falk and those guys up front, because they've been, aside from the A&M game where A&M just kind of out-physicaled them and ground them down, but Auburn's run defense has been really good.
Yeah.
And I just think you do want to attack this team on the outside. Georgia, I don't think they always want to throw on the outside, but at least Stockton has proven, especially in the Tennessee game, that he can do that if you need him to, right? And he can find some of those one-on-ones, and I think even his legs play a big factor in their offense as well. So I think you've got some weird dynamics here where I think each defense is going to try to make the other quarterback beat them, and that might be the part it comes down to, is just which team gets enough out of their quarterback, right? Who gets enough? And it's just you actually, I think that's the weird part of this, is you have two very similarly built teams, but one of them in Georgia knows how to win big ball games, and one of them in Auburn is really still trying to learn. And let's say this for Auburn too: they lose this game and they're 3-3. I mean, they had a lot higher expectations than that. And if they already have their third loss in 6 games, I mean, you could see Auburn at home come out and play with a real level of desperation.
Absolutely. So ultimately, Dalton, in the Deep South's oldest rivalry, the second longest tenure rivalry that we have in the FBS right now, who will win between Georgia and Auburn?
This is harder than it looks. I think a lot of people would look at this game and just go, well, of course, Georgia. But this rivalry on the road, again, as desperate as Auburn should be in this game. And I'll tell you what, my brother called me last night, and he was just ripping me. He is telling me for sure that Auburn's going to win.
Wow.
He for some reason,
Dylan making a call.
For some reason, he's all over it that Auburn's going to win this game. I'm probably going to regret it at the end of it, but I'm taking the Bulldogs. I'm going against him. I'm going Georgia 23-20. He tried to convince me for probably at least 30 minutes yesterday.
If Auburn wins, we are replacing Dalton Wasserman with Dylan Wasserman on the show.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in all likelihood. He tells me he
knows more ball.
He probably more confidently than any of this that we talked about last night, because we talk on the phone for way too long sometimes.
That's me and my brother too.
He told me, he says, Auburn's winning this game.
All right.
I'm going to be the idiot and disagree with him. Georgia 23-20. I have a hard time trusting Auburn's offense.
Okay. So you're going against Dylan. I'll have to get Ben's picks every week and see what if I go against him in anything. We'll see.
There you go.
I will take Georgia to win this game as well. I have a 30-23. I don't think either run game will have much success in this game. The difference is, though, I trust Gunnar Stockton and Georgia's pass catchers. They might have a significant advantage over an extremely vulnerable Auburn secondary too. So this game could come down to who throws the ball better. And in that matchup against that Auburn secondary and against Kirby Smart and the way he coaches up those defensive backs too, I think Georgia has a big advantage over Auburn in that respect. So I think it will come down to the passing games, and I think Georgia will win 30-23 on the road, but it could get weird in the Deep South's oldest rivalry, as it usually does.
Just remembered something. Finally, last week, Georgia got a sack from a defensive lineman.
Oh, there you go.
It took them 5 games to get one, but they finally got a sack from a defensive lineman.
That's huge. Yeah. Well, both pass rushers probably need to play well in this game, too. So I got Georgia winning 30-23. Dalton, we have finished the front row on the desk of this preview, and we still have 4 more games to go on this preview, too. So a lot to get to still in this preview. But before we get to that, got to talk about the sponsor of the show, that is BetterHelp. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. October 10th coming up very, very soon, 3 days. It's World Mental Health Day, and this year we're saying thank you, therapists. BetterHelp therapists have helped over 5 million people worldwide on their mental health journeys. That's millions of stories, millions of journeys, and behind every one is a therapist who showed up, listened, and helped someone take a step forward. Moments in therapy, like the right question, a safe space to cry, or a small win, can change lives. This World Mental Health Day, BetterHelp is honoring those connections and the therapists who make them possible while showing how easy it is to get guidance from a licensed therapist online with BetterHelp. Again, October 10th is World Mental Health Day, and this year BetterHelp is shining the spotlight on therapists, people who truly make the world a better place. If you feel comfortable, just go online and sign up with BetterHelp today. BetterHelp has 12 plus years of experience in matching people to the right therapist. Quality therapists, BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the U.S. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences, and our 10 plus years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means we typically get it right the first time. If you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from their tailored recommendations. And with over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally, and it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This World Mental Health Day, we're celebrating the therapists who've helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PFF. Again, that's betterhelp.com/PFF. All right, final 4 games of this preview. Next up, got number 15 Michigan at USC, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. This game has massive playoff implications for really both programs, honestly. Wolverines right now are off to a 4-1 start to their season, with their only blemish coming to now 6th-ranked Oklahoma on the road. Michigan should be favored in every one of its remaining games after this game, besides the Ohio State game at the very end of the year. But if Michigan wins this game, wins the rest of their games, and loses to Ohio State, they'll be 10-2. They should make the college football playoff at 10-2. USC is not ranked right now, but it also has a 4-1 start to this year, like Michigan. They had a 34-32 loss, and now number 17 Illinois in their last game. The Trojans do have a much harder schedule the rest of the year, with games at Notre Dame and at Oregon. But a win over Michigan this week could establish USC as a legitimate playoff contender in the Big Ten.
Well, you think about USC now in a very critical juncture of their season. Michigan this week, Notre Dame next week. Boy, it doesn't get much bigger than that. Obviously, the spotlight is always on those programs, but USC and Lincoln Riley, it's prove-it time now. They had a game where they stormed all the way back against Illinois, and then their defense couldn't get a big stop, and that generally over the last couple of years has been the problem, right, is USC getting big stops in big games. And last year, same thing happened. They were ahead in this game, and they just couldn't stop the run when they had to. So similar dynamic, I think, in this USC-Michigan matchup as there was in last year's game. The difference is different quarterbacks for each team. So the situation does change a bit, and the game is at USC this time. But this is a fascinating football game. It really is. And Michigan is the ranked team in this matchup, but USC being favored there, that's kind of interesting.
It was very interesting. We actually have someone in the chat, Dalton. People are arguing in the chat. I don't know about what, but someone said stats are for losers. I think you're in the wrong show if you
Well, I mean, there's a winner and loser in every game, especially in college football. We don't have ties in college. So some stats are for losers, and some stats are for winners. It's half and half. Think about it that way.
I think the most stats-based show that you could find in college football, though, if you don't think stats matter, I don't know. Maybe we're trying to convince him that stats do matter.
We are.
Some stats matter.
That's what we do.
Stats do matter.
Listen, numbers are not scary. I try to tell people all the time.
They were scary for me in high school. High school math was tough for me.
We do the math. Tough. We do the math for you, and that's what our job is, to present it in a presentable way, right?
You have the USC offense, though, Dalton, in this game that has been red hot this year. Jaden Maiava's had a great year so far, but that Michigan defense we know is always ferocious.
It is always ferocious. It's obviously very talented. They've got great edge rushers like Derek Moore and TJ Guy, but I think the matchup I'm looking at right here, Jaden Maiava versus Wink Martindale. I think the biggest moments for the USC offense in this game are going to be Jaden Maiava against a Michigan defense that blitzes quarterbacks more than any other team in the Power Four. But you look at Jaden Maiava against the blitz, 89.8 passing grade, 12 yards per attempt, adjusted completion rate of 87.5, 1 sack taken against the blitz this year. He's only taken 2 sacks total this year. So Jaden Maiava doing a better job this year, I think, than ever of standing in the pocket, staring down the barrel, and making throws even as he's being hit, and making smarter decisions with the football. I think it's been part of his maturation. The last couple of years we've seen at UNLV and even late in those few starts at USC last year, ball security under pressure is a big theme for him. He's been much better with it this year. So you have to figure out when some of these linebackers are blitzing, where they're coming from. Wink Martindale brings, especially on 3rd and long, he brings pressure from all different directions. I think in the same way that Illinois, look, they bring the 5-man rush, and Maiava was really good against the blitz in that game. Now it gets a little more confusing. So I think USC, in obvious passing situations, when they get in those handful of spots, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, I think Jaden Maiava really against Wink Martindale more than any individual player or anything on the field. I think that's going to be huge in this game, is him once again staring down the barrel, and he's done such a great job. So often, beating blitzes is about throwing right over the top of it, right? Because that's the void of where the blitzer's leaving, right? Especially if it's a zone blitz. Maiava's done a great job of that this year. Just stare right into it, throw it right over the heads of the direction they're coming in, and make a big throw. That's how he got back and took the lead in the Illinois game. I think it's a similar dynamic here. I want to see what Martindale dials up for Maiava and if he can handle that pressure.
Yeah, I have Michigan's run game against USC's run defense. Obviously, we've said it time and time again. The key to slowing down Michigan's offense is by stopping its ground game. The Wolverines run the ball on about 53% of their plays this year. That's the 11th highest rate in the Power 4. 68.8 run blocking grade. is 25th in the entire country. And Justice Haynes, who transferred in from Alabama, has been phenomenal for the Wolverines this year. He's 4th among all running backs in the country with 654 rushing yards this year. Michigan is also 5th in the nation in yards per attempt at 6.6, and they're 6th in yards before contact per attempt at 3 yards before contact per attempt. USC's run defense has been relatively average this year. Right now, 68th in run defense grade, 56th in yards per attempt allowed, about 4.5. And the Trojans really struggled this past week, or the last loss, I should say, against Illinois. They had just a 60.1 run defense grade in the loss, which is more than 10 points lower than anything they've had all season. But if USC can bounce back and run defense this week against Michigan, their defense could have an advantage, because right now the Trojans are 21st in team coverage grade this year at 90.2, and Michigan is only 107th in receiving grade, and Bryce Underwood, the true freshman quarterback, is 104th in passing grade this year too. So if you force Bryce Underwood to win as a pure drop back passer in this game against that secondary, and those talented players in the secondary too, like Kamari Ramsey at safety, USC's defense could have the advantage, but the number one thing you got to do is stop this run game for Michigan.
At least slow it down better than you did last year. Let's go back to last year real quick when Michigan beat USC. Michigan ran for 300 yards in that game, and they threw for 32. They beat USC in a game where they had 32 passing yards. So, I mean, it just shows you if you're going to run for 300, if you're going to continue to rip off 6, 7, 8 yards a clip, well, just keep running it, right? And I think that could be the idea again here. Now, they're more well-equipped with Underwood to throw the football a little bit more than they did with Alex Orji last year playing in this game, but Michigan still wants to win running the ball first. You mentioned Justice Haynes. They've even gotten Bryce Underwood's legs much more involved the last few weeks than they had the first couple games. So I think Underwood's legs could be a big factor. And how about just the fun fact here? USC's highest graded run defender, true freshman Jakeem Stewart.
Oh,
isn't he? Is he even 18 yet? Or we do?
He's supposed to be a senior in high school right now.
Right. So I mean, he's their highest graded run defender. Now their defensive line has been better. Stewart, Anthony Lucas has been really good as well. But I think that's the big thing. If you're USC, I think you put it right on the bulletin board. Go, hey, last year, why did we lose? We gave up 300 yards on the ground. If they give up 300 yards again, yeah, they're going to lose, especially with a little more balance than Michigan has last year. Not a whole lot because they don't have a lot of weapons, but that's going to be the big theme. Haynes, Underwood, got to give up less than 300.
Yep. So, Dalton, last week we had 3 top 15 teams lose to unranked teams in obviously Iowa State, Texas, and Penn State. We got a top 15 team this week in Michigan that is underdogs to an unranked team right now in USC. Will we get another one this week, or will Michigan win the game over USC?
I think I'm in on it. This is a tough game to pick, and it's so tough because, again, you have two just so contrasting styles, right? You have Michigan and Michigan-branded football, and they're running the ball and playing defense, and Martindale's blitzing all over the place. And then you have Lincoln Riley, West Coast football, old Pac-12 football, where we're wide open with Maiava and Makai Lemon. And I'll tell you, the other guys, too, I like for USC are these two tight ends. I thought they were both outstanding against Illinois. I mean, you look at Lake McCree and Walker Lyons, I think they make a lot of big catches over the middle of the field. Eli Sanders and the run game have been good too. And I just think this Michigan pass rush too was such a big factor in last year's game against Miller Moss. Remember the pick six even to Will Johnson, and then just some things. I mean, the play I'll never forget too from that game, the Kenneth Grant, Woody Marks play.
Incredible.
I mean, just unbelievable stuff. And Woody Marks doing such a great job now for the Houston Texans. But I think USC is more equipped to win this game this year than last year. And again, as long as they don't give up 300 yards on the ground again, I like it. I do think it's going to be hard fought. I think the biggest moments in this game are going to be a handful of third downs that Maiava's got to get him through, right? And I think he did it against Illinois, got him a lead late. It was ugly early in the game, but third down for Jaden Maiava against Wink Martindale is the big matchup for me. I've got USC 27-23.
I have a 27-24, but I have Michigan winning this game. I think the Wolverines will ride their run game and Justice Haynes to victory, and I think their defense will make enough stops on Lincoln Riley's offense in this game too. I can see this going either way, though. I really can, because I think Lincoln Riley's offense has looked great this year. And if the Trojans can stack the box and slow down the run game for Michigan, their defense, like I said, could have an advantage over Michigan's receiving core. And Bryce Underwood has been a little bit up and down this year as a true freshman, as you expect from a true freshman too. But it could be a great game. But I do think Michigan will ultimately come out on top on the road with a 27-24 victory. All right, next up, we got South Carolina at number 11 LSU, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time on the SEC Network. The storyline to know is, okay, how does LSU respond to its loss to Ole Miss? A couple weeks ago, LSU suffered their first loss of the year to number 13 Ole Miss by a final score of 24-19. LSU was number 4 in the country at the time. Now they're out of the top 10 altogether. They're coming off a bye week, and they look to get their season back on track this week against a 3-2 South Carolina team. And added storyline in this game too, Dalton, and why I was a little confused with Andrew Harbaugh earlier in the show when he said QB1 game this week. We have 2 quarterbacks in this game who are looking to prove themselves as potential top picks in the 2026 NFL Draft. South Carolina's Lenora Sellers is 23rd among all FBS quarterbacks this year with an 86 PFF grade. And LSU's Garrett Nussmeier is 31st in the country with an 83.3 PFF grade. And both offenses rely on those quarterbacks a lot. Probably too much, honestly, but could be a fun storyline too between those two as they look to be top 5 picks maybe in the NFL Draft this year.
I think you make a great point there. These two, and Cade Klubnik from Clemson is another one where this has happened, where the offensive structure is just not as strong as many thought with these teams. And you know, in the case of LSU, I'm going to get into it more. The lack of a run game, they're asking Nussmeier to drop back and throw the football too much. In the case of South Carolina, I think some of the other guys around Sellers haven't quite developed all the way yet, and Sellers has had to carry them. Now, in their game against Missouri, he tried his damnedest to do it. 4 big-time throws in that game. His ability to move outside the pocket and take deep shots, those were really what kept South Carolina in that game. But for South Carolina, it feels like home run or strikeout type of offense, right? We're either hitting a 60-yard bomb or we're going 3 and out.
Yeah.
And you just can't have that level of inconsistency. And let's face it, with LSU, you take out a game against an FCS team in Southeast Louisiana, LSU scoring 20 points a game. That's clearly not good enough and not what they thought they were getting from Garrett Nussmeier and all these receivers. But I really believe it's the lack of the run game that has hurt them. Yeah, absolutely. So, Dalton, in a game between 2 potential franchise quarterbacks in the NFL and 2 potential first-round picks in this year's draft, you actually have Garrett Nussmeier in this game against the South Carolina defense. What should we know about that matchup? Look, coming out of a bye week and understanding what I just said about LSU's lack of a run game, and because no run game, they have no play action to speak of, right? And now they're just asking Nussmeier to drop back and make every throw and be perfect, right, for 50 to 55 times a game. It's too much. And he's not Jaden Daniels where he adds it all to your run game like it was a few years ago. You could get away with it with Jaden Daniels because he ran for 1,100 yards, right? So you had a run game with Jaden in there. With Garrett, you don't have this. So, I mean, you look at LSU's run game. They're 119th in the country in rushing grade. Not good. They need to get Caden Durham going badly. And ironically, this was the game last year where Caden Durham really broke out. And when they were behind South Carolina early at South Carolina, Caden Durham got him back in that game, and then eventually they won it. And the games where LSU ran the football were the ones where they looked the best. Go ahead.
And the good news is Caden Durham will be playing this week after missing last game against USF.
I mean, him, Harlem Bear, I don't care who it is. Yeah. They need somebody who can run the football. We've mentioned all offseason. They lost 4 starters on the offensive line. Big problem, right? Big problem in run blocking. They're 126th. They have the 11th worst run blocking grade in the country. 111th in yards per carry, 118th in explosive run rate. This LSU team needs to find some semblance of balance. Because, look, this South Carolina run defense, the numbers paint it as kind of average to slightly above average, but they're another one. They're tilted because they played Missouri, and Missouri's running over everybody right now. You look at South Carolina's other games outside of the Missouri game in run defense, they've been pretty darn good in the middle, replacing all those guys in run defense. So I think for LSU, it can't – I don't care who they're playing. It can't just be Garrett Nussmeier out there trying to basically the same way that when he was playing Joe Burrow had to for the Cincinnati Bengals, where, hey, we can't run it, and their defense is better. LSU's defense is obviously better. You're going into that. But you've got to find something. And I'm not saying they have to run the ball like Missouri or one of the academy schools or anything like that, but can I get 120? I get 130 maybe as a unit in this game, because if they have another day where they go out there and they run for 50 yards, they're going to lose. I really believe that. And I know Nussmeier, he tries his best, and I think this is the part where separating the individual talent when it comes to draft scouting and all of that, and then looking at just what is wrong with this offense. And I know it's been a hot point of contention in Baton Rouge, but rightfully so. They had no answers. Even when they were ahead on Ole Miss in the previous game, they didn't run the ball. They just couldn't do it. So they have to find a way to have some balance. You can't ask Nussmeier to do everything. He is extremely good, possibly a first-round pick. But you cannot ask your quarterback to do everything for your offense.
Yeah, and that's the same story on the other side, too, is South Carolina, because Lenora Sellers has to be Superman for this offense to do anything in any game. I'm looking at him against Harold Perkins Jr., kind of an individual matchup. Usually you do a team-wide matchup. I'm looking at an individual matchup in this game because South Carolina's offense, like I mentioned before, has been extremely reliant on Lenora Sellers this year with how bad the supporting cast has been. Right now, South Carolina overall offensive grade, 68.6. That's 88th in the country. Passing grade, 27th in the country. So pretty good because of Lenora Sellers. Rushing grade, 110th in the country. Receiving grade, 78th in the country. Pass blocking grade, 54th in the country. Run blocking grade, 120th in the country. Outside of passing, which is by itself really Lenora Sellers, everything else is at least outside the top 50 in the country, and besides pass blocking, outside the top 75 in the country right now. So this offense is so reliant on Lenora Sellers to be Superman for them. But considering LSU is 14th in the nation with a 90.6 coverage grade this year, and they have some absolute superstars in their secondary, namely Mansour Delane, who is one of the favorites right now for the Jim Thorpe Award as the best defensive back in the country. Also might be one of if not the first corner taken in the 2026 NFL Draft. With those guys back there at LSU in that secondary, it seems unlikely that the Gamecocks receivers will be able to separate a little much in this game. So Sellers might be forced, I should say, to utilize his elite mobility more. Over the last 2 years, he has 60 broken tackles on the ground. That's the most among Power 4 quarterbacks. But LSU has done a good job of limiting quarterbacks on the ground this year. They've only allowed an average of 37 rushing yards per game from opposing quarterbacks, and only one quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss, has rushed for over 50 yards on them. And they've played guys like Kay Klubnik and DJ Lagway who can get out and run too. That's mainly thanks to redshirt junior linebacker Harold Perkins Jr., who's LSU's main spy on quarterbacks this year. He's an elite athlete at linebacker. 82.8 run defense grade this year, is 18th among Power 4 linebackers too. He will be used as a spy on Lenora Sellers in this game. And if LSU secondary locks up those receivers like I think they will in this game, Sellers might have to run a lot more in this game too. So Perkins chasing down Lenora Sellers could be a huge matchup.
Curious to see how Blake Baker tries to speed up Lenora Sellers, because the longer he holds the ball, the more dangerous he is. You mentioned it, he can break tackles, and I've said it before, when he gets outside of those hash marks, look out. I mean, whether it's with his arm or with his legs, he can beat you either way. So I think you mentioned it. The summary of South Carolina's offense is Lenora Sellers putting the whole team on his back. The offensive line is not great. The receivers have potential, but they're not great separators. The backs, I don't think, have been as good as they want them to be, in part because the offensive line has struggled. But I think it is a big thing to note that Harold Perkins with the spy role, like you mentioned, maybe one of the few athletes on the field in space you could maybe trust to tackle Lenora Sellers. And then Mansour Delane's been great, and the safety transfer from Houston, A.J. Halsey, has also been spectacular. So I think a big element in this game, too. Lenora Sellers, as we know, one of the most dangerous deep passers in the country. That's the biggest thing that LSU has fixed in their defense this year. They've been one of the best teams in the country at preventing those deep shots. They did it against Klubnik. They did it against Lagway. Ole Miss didn't have to take those deep shots because Chambliss was more reserved, more conservative, beat him in the intermediate range and running the football. But Sellers has got to be a bit patient, because you don't want to force passes into the deeper parts of this secondary because they will shut you down.
Absolutely. So ultimately, Dalton, who will win this game between two of maybe the top quarterbacks in this year's draft in Garrett Nussmeier and Lenora Sellers, who will come out on top of this one?
This is a weird one. This is a weird football game. This feels like a game that's going to get weird. And I know it's night at Death Valley, and it's always weird. I almost took South Carolina.
Wow, okay.
I almost did it. I'm worried about this LSU offense. Night game, Death Valley, I do love their secondary. It's the best part of their team to me right now, but they do need to find some sort of balance and find a way to run the football, at least at a decent rate in this game, to take some pressure off Nussmeier. If this is just Garrett Nussmeier dropping back 60 times, I absolutely think South Carolina can win this game. Because actually between the two, if one of the two had to do that, I would actually take Sellers in this scenario, because at least he could take off and scramble for 120 yards or whatever that may be. So I've got LSU 24-20. I don't think this is going to be some big barn burner shootout. I think there's going to be a lot of great defensive plays made in this game. Two very, very good secondaries. I don't want to sell Jalen Kilgore and those guys in the Gamecocks secondary short. I really think this is pretty even. I think honestly the script in my head is this game LSU's going to find their way ahead, and I think Sellers is going to have one shot. He's going to have a shot at the drive against this defense, and I'm going to take LSU's defense to get it done. But I think South Carolina absolutely has a shot to go in here and win, because LSU's lack of balance really hurts them on offense.
I got LSU winning a little more convincingly. I have it 30-17. I just think this South Carolina offense, which is so reliant on Lenora Sellers, they're going to struggle getting going through the air against an elite LSU secondary right now. And on the ground, too, with not a great run game for South Carolina. And then Lenora Sellers, like I said, against Harold Perkins, who's spying him in this game, too. So I think the Tigers will bounce back from their loss to Ole Miss a couple weeks ago and get a win over the Gamecocks in this game, too, at home, which I think is huge for LSU, too. So it should be a fun game, but I do think LSU will win 30-17.
Do we have 44.5 over under? I was just going to ask is Whit Weeks taking the over in this game, too?
Oh, maybe.
I have it under, so I don't know which way Whit Weeks might be taking that. I don't know if Lane Kiffin's still giving him betting advice, but
yeah. No, he's not dating Shane Beamer's daughter. He's dating Lane Kiffin's daughter. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Beamer doesn't have anything for him.
No,
okay.
I think it's good. All right, we got two more. We got two more games in this preview, both of them coming from the Big 12. We got next up, number 18, BYU at Arizona, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. I know we have a lot of BYU faithful that may come at me for saying this, but I'm going to say it. I think this is BYU's first true test of the season so far. And listen, they have been outstanding. They've been great so far. Perfect 5-0 start to their season, 5-0 for the second straight year for BYU. But I do think it's fair to say that BYU has not been truly tested yet. Only one of the teams that BYU has beaten has a winning record right now, and that's East Carolina at 3-2 on the season so far. Right now, BYU's 5 opponents have a combined record of 9-19 on the season so far. So they face their hardest challenge of the year right now as they go on the road to take on an Arizona team that right now is 4-1 to start the 2025 season.
I think it's interesting because, yes, you're right on that part. They should get credit for winning all those games.
Definitely, yeah.
I also think there is an element, and I would bet this is something the way that Kalani Sitake thinks about it, their head coach, is that they do have a true freshman quarterback that just got there in, April or May, right? Mm-hmm. And the early part, when you have a guy like that, I think it's similar, like, say, with Bryce Underwood at Michigan, where kind of no matter who the opponent is, every rep is a good rep, right? And East Carolina, they struggled a bit in that game early. East Carolina's got a good defense. They got in a defensive battle. They got through it. Colorado, they were down 14-0 very quickly in that game, and Bachmeier on the road had to fight back and win that game. So I think I might give them a little more credit than that for battling, because, again, dealing with a brand-new true freshman quarterback when the rest of the team is full of veterans from last year's team, right? They got a really good football team. I mean, their offensive line is better this year. L.J. Martin, Chase Roberts, a super experienced defense that most of the guys came back. I do give them credit because it is very hard to win all of your games with a true freshman quarterback, regardless of opponent, because there's certain times you just have to guide him through it. And you can see that's what they're doing. Aaron Roderick, especially the OC, is guiding Bachmeier through all of this. So I want to give them the proper credit. Now, again, you might be right. On the road, this is probably the best team they've played so far.
I think it is. I mean, listen, none of their teams they played are in the top 60 of PFF's power rankings right now.
Absolutely. This is, what I think it is, and I think it's a fun thing to watch, because it's kind of like just that little bit of like, just, okay, next step. Before they have to, oh boy, they get Utah's next week, right? They play.
Yeah,
they play.
Holy War.
So you've got one more step here with Arizona, where you go, all right, we've taken care of business. Teams that overall were more talented than. Then you get Arizona's a little better, and then you get Utah. That, oh boy, Berg Bachmeier playing in his first Holy War. That's going to be fun too. But I think they do deserve credit, because dealing with and starting 5-0 with a true freshman quarterback, That is big time stuff right there. I think that does matter a lot. And some of the reps that he's gotten through adversity, that's been big time.
Yep. All right, Dalton, you have the BYU offense with Bear Bachmeier, the true freshman quarterback, against Arizona's defense. What should we know about that game?
Yeah, and look, last time we talked BYU a couple weeks ago against Colorado, I talked about how their offense is very much based in their offensive line and LJ Martin in this run game. But you do want to, again, step by step, see where Bear Bachmeier is progressing, right? He's very athletic. He's got a very good arm. He's got all the tools in the world to succeed, and he's looked good so far. And I think what I've been fascinated with the way that Aaron Roderick is bringing him along. And you look at, to me, first and foremost, the way that he's throwing down the middle of the field between the numbers, really, really good stuff from the true freshman. 83.4 passing grade between the numbers, 78.8 adjusted completion rate, 11 yards per attempt. And the fun part is that Roderick's designs have been so good and so helpful to Bear Bachmeier that he's been able to do it decisively. Max, when he throws between the numbers, his average time to throw is basically 2 seconds flat. He is throwing with as much conviction. I mean, when we've talked in the past about Zach Wilson and and then Jake Retzloff last year under Aaron Roderick as the offensive coordinator, it is decisive and it is striking down the middle of the field. That is exactly what Bear Bachmeier is doing right now. Now, the big thing against Arizona, and this is why it's going to be the big test. Colorado has struggled in coverage. West Virginia, they put up a lot of points, but they've struggled in coverage. Arizona right now is 4th in the nation in coverage grade. So this is a whole different element, especially when you talk about throwing down the middle of the field on a group that has the 3rd highest graded safeties in coverage in the nation. Genesis Smith and Dalton Johnson, 2 guys who do not allow big shots down the field and big shots down the middle of the field. I think you've got this battle where Bachmeier has to be aware of both of these safeties at all times. If he can hit those throws down the middle and avoid Johnson and Smith making those big plays, those interceptions that turn games around, then you've got yourself a spot where BYU's at an advantage if he can get those throws. If they can prevent that, force him to throw outside where he's a little bit less accurate right now, I think then you start to talk about, okay, Arizona's defense can control this if they can stop the run. They got to stop the run first because BYU's been running the football a lot.
LJ Martin's a stud.
He's an absolute stud, but I think, and then you get to if they get that first layer, then you get concerned with Bachmeier in the passing game and go, okay, where does he hurt us? Down the middle of the field. Him versus Arizona's safeties is a really fun matchup in this game on those passing downs.
Yeah, I've got Arizona's offense. I'm looking at Noah Fafita and whether or not he can continue carrying this Arizona offense on his back against BYU's man coverage. BYU's secondary has performed at a very admirable level this year. They're 27th in the nation in coverage grade at 89.7. And they're doing so while running man coverage about 33% of the time, the 33rd highest rate in the country. Noah Fafita had a down year last year. Tried to play hero ball a little bit too much, 73.1 passing grade in 2024. But he's had a resurgence this past season. 87.5 passing grade this year as a redshirt junior. That's 12th among all quarterbacks in the nation. 11 big-time throws are tied for 6th in the Power 4. This is all while Arizona is only 100th in receiving grade this year at 63.3. This offense very clearly misses Tedero McMillan right now. And against man coverage, which BYU runs a lot, Arizona is only 101st in receiving grade and 105th in EPA per pass. But Noah Fafita has proven capable of delivering tight window throws against man coverage. 5 big-time throws against man coverage, tied for 6th among all quarterbacks in the country, and a 79.5 passing grade against man coverage is a top 20 mark in the country. So it's unlikely that Arizona's receivers who have struggled all year can gain much separation in this game. So it'll be up to Noah Fafita to throw his receivers open against tight man coverage in this game too.
For sure. BYU's been really good in the secondary, especially Evan Johnson outside number 0 at corner. And I think one big thing for Fafita we have to remember, he's had 4 offensive play callers in the last 3 seasons. That's not easy to adjust to. And I think Seth Dagey, their new offensive coordinator this year, has done a fantastic job of just getting Fafita his confidence back and allowing him to the freedom to throw downfield. How about almost an 11-yard average depth of target? By far his career high. So he's throwing downfield. Fafita has been fearless as a playmaker inside and outside the pocket. And you mentioned it. Those receivers have to step up a little more for him. So I think it's going to be big in this game. Iowa State really did a nice job of preventing the big big plays from Arizona in the big win they had over the Wildcats. But Fafita is always a threat. He's an experienced quarterback. We've seen him for a long time. He can make plays inside and outside the pocket. I think Seth Daigie's done a really nice job with him this year.
So ultimately, Dalton, in a game that is huge for the Big 12 race, I would say, who will win between Arizona and BYU?
Tough one, because you've got two quarterbacks that we go, okay, can you? And then we've got two running games that have been pretty darn good early in the season. You mentioned L.J. Martin and BYU. Ishmael Mahdi for Arizona has been really good on the ground as well. I think you're getting a fun football game. I really do. I think two teams that play complementary football pretty well. I'm going to take BYU. I'm going to take the Cougars to pass their next biggest test before the big game against Utah next week. I've got BYU 27-24, and I think they're gonna run the football well. And then I think there's going to be moments here. Bachmeier, it's not about him dominating the football game because they're only throwing 40 to 42% of the time right now, but it's about those moments. And I think there are times too, I talked about him throwing down the middle of the field, but his athleticism has played a part in their success. When he does break the pocket, he has a good idea how to run with the football. I think that does make a difference in this game. I think BYU, I'm going to take him to pull off the big road win.
So at the risk of having our BYU faithful just completely turn against me this week, I am taking Arizona in this game. I got Arizona winning this game 24-23. Both secondaries, I think, should have the advantage in this game, so it could be a low-scoring affair. But in that kind of matchup, I'll take the veteran quarterback in Noah Fafita over the true freshman in Bear Bachmeier. I think, and also at Arizona, I think they'll get the home win in this one too. So I have Arizona winning this game 24-23 over BYU. Should be a great game, though, on Saturday night. All right, final game. Final one, we promise, in our 13-game preview. And for a lot of our Arizona State fans in the chat, I see Drake Holliday in the chat right now. We got number 21, Arizona State at Utah, 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Really, two teams looking to prove they're still contenders to win the Big 12 right now. So Texas Tech, of course, is the heavy favorite to win the Big 12 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, they're minus 120 to win the conference. The only team in the country with shorter odds than that to win their conference. You want to take a guess, Dalton?
Which conference? Not the MAC. I almost want to say it's like a weird one. I'm going to say, because I think I'm cheating and I might have seen. I think I saw something in our power rankings about this. Is it Louisiana Tech?
No.
You're
thinking too hard.
I'm thinking too hard.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Miami.
It's Miami. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot. I forgot Miami is like that much better than everyone else right now. Yeah,
Miami minus 210 to win the ACC right now. It's the only team in the country with shorter odds to win the conference. Texas Tech right now. But after Texas Tech, you got Arizona State at plus 700, Utah at plus 1,000. They're second and third in odds to win the Big 12 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. So the winner of this game could establish himself as the biggest contender or biggest threat to the Red Raiders in the Big 12, while the loser of this game faces an uphill climb to get to the Big 12 title game in December and by proxy secure a college football playoff spot too.
I'll tell you what, have you seen this Arizona State schedule these next 4 weeks? You ready for this? Utah, Texas Tech, Houston, and I lost it here for a second, but I believe it's Iowa State is the fourth one. Yes, Utah, Texas Tech, Houston, Iowa State in 4 straight weeks. We're going to know a month from now where we sit on Arizona State because, man, oh, man, those 4 teams have combined to lose, 3 games so far this year? I mean, that's just it is ridiculous what Arizona State is dealing with between their first bye week and then their second bye week 4 weeks from now. But I mean, this is the start of really the stretch of their season for Arizona State. And then Utah, look, the stakes are very high here for Utah. They already lost 1 conference game to the top dog in Texas Tech. If they get a second loss and they're to those 2 teams, they have a major problem in the standings in this conference. And they were my preseason pick to win the Big 12. I still fully believe they are capable of that. But Utah really, as much as anything, they can't afford to lose this game. And then they got BYU coming to town, and we always know how that game goes. You never know which way it goes with those two. So this is one of the biggest games of the year, maybe moving forward the biggest game left of the year in the Big 12.
So, Dalton, you have the Arizona State offense in this game against a Utah defense that runs man coverage at the highest rate in the country at about 60% this year.
That is a big, big deal for two reasons. Now, I still believe the foundation and the heart and soul of this Arizona State offense does need to be the run game with Sam Leavitt, with Raleek Brown, with Kyson Brown, with Kanye Udo, with whoever they're going to run the football with. It's been Raleek Brown the most, which he's emerged as a star for them at tailback. But I think that's the part we're going to look at matchup-wise is Utah, like you mentioned, leading the nation in a rate of man coverage, 60%, I think it is, 61%, somewhere in there. Two reasons this is big. One, Jordan Tyson, arguably the best receiver, the top 3 receiver in the country, arguably the best receiver in this draft class. He's also the highest graded receiver this year against man coverage because, well, he's Jordan Tyson. That makes a lot of sense, right? So Sam Leavitt's going to do one of two things when he sees all this man coverage. He's going to throw to Jordan Tyson, or he's going to take off running the football. And you look at Sam Leavitt running the football this year. This guy's a dynamic athlete. Second in the nation in rushing grade, 7.5 yards per carry, 268 yards after contact. He makes people miss. He's fast. He's explosive. And if you're going to blitz him heavy and you're going to run a lot of man coverage, guess what he's going to do? He's going to keep the football and play that Johnny Manziel-style playground football, and he's going to run all over the place and be the best athlete on the field. There's two very clear answers to this Utah defense. And it's the two answers I'm sure that everybody in Arizona State loves to have. It's Sam Leavitt and it's Jordan Tyson. And one more fun fact. Sam Leavitt, second in the nation in rushing yards on scrambles. Who's the one guy ahead of him?
Ooh. Who is it?
Because he had such a big week last week. One Nico Iamaleava.
Oh, you suck.
I had to bring that up just for you because that was a fun stat.
If you run man coverage against Sam Leavitt, though, with your backs turned to him, that's
a real
dangerous.
And especially when you blitz as much as Utah does as well. They're one of the heavier blitzing teams in the country to go along with all that cover one that they play. That's really where he's been going with it. It's a lot of the same way stylistically. They're not the same player. Leavitt's a lot smaller, but stylistically, it's the same way sometimes I look at certain matchups with Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills. When he faces teams that run a lot of man coverage, those are the days he's going to run the football. Why? Because like you just mentioned, even if you have a spy, good luck. Unless you got an elite, like you mentioned Harold Perkins before with Lenore Sellers. You better have that level of athlete to spy Sam Leavitt because it's not going to work otherwise. And B, all those guys' backs are turned, right? It's one-on-one matchups. And look, if you don't think Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo don't know this, and sometimes they'll just run 4 verts and tell Sam, hey, you know what's coming here. We know what's happening. Absolutely, that's what's going to happen. Because, again, Sam Leavitt, realistically, when he's on the field, very easy argument that he's the best athlete on the field. So he's going to take off running, and Jordan Tyson, if Arizona State's going to win, he's going to get a boatload of targets because he's going to get a lot of one-on-one.
And by the way, great job by the Arizona State fans in the chat for shouting this out. Arizona State will get Jalen Moss back from injury for the first game.
Oh, that's big time.
And that's potentially their number 2 receiver.
That's big time because if he comes in and makes an immediate impact, if there's one thing we've complained about with this Arizona State offense, in the midst of in the early games maybe throwing a little bit too much, it's also you only have this one threat. If this Arizona State passing game gets that second threat that can win in this exact game against man-to-man, we're talking now. Now we're talking, but I've liked the way that they've clawed their way through their first couple Big 12 games. They had their early loss to Mississippi State, which, again, is not as bad as it looked at the time, right? They've been running the football. They've been running a lot of 12 personnel, but if they can open things up a little bit more now with Jalen Moss, especially with Leavitt out on the move as much as he gets out, this gets to be a lot of fun. This is on both sides a fascinating matchup, but this sets up really well, kind of knowing it's weird because it's going to be unpredictable with both these quarterbacks probably running all over the place.
True, yeah.
But it's also predictable in that, this is about to be a circus outside the pocket with both these guys.
Yeah, Jalen Moss with nearly 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns over the last 2 years at Fresno State. He was projected as the number 2 receiver at Arizona State this year. Has not really played at all this year, but he will be back this week from all his injuries and also illnesses he's dealt with this year. Great to see him back, too, because he's a very talented player. And Arizona State, who desperately needs another option in their passing game outside of Jordan Tyson, they will get it back this week in Jalen Moss, too. So great shout out by the chat to point that out right there. I'm looking at Utah's offense in this game and really their offensive line against Arizona State's defensive line. The same matchup I feel like we're going to do every single time for Utah whenever we preview them because their entire offense is centered around their front 5. Both of their tackles, Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu, are top 15 prospects on PFF's 2026 NFL Draft Big Board you can find on PFF.com right now. The Utes right now are 8th in the country in pass blocking grade as a team with an 81 pass blocking grade, and they're 7th in the Power 4 with 2.7 rushing yards before contact per attempt. Arizona State's defensive line, meanwhile, is only 90th in PFF grade as a unit at 69.6. The Sun Devils' about 30% pressure rate this year is 56th in the country as well. Arizona State does do a better job in run defense. Right now, they're 28th in the country in yards per attempt allowed, with only 4 yards per attempt allowed. But I will say it's more due to the outstanding play from their linebackers than the defensive line. Both Keyshawn Elliott and Jordan Crook, their linebackers, have 80-plus run defense grades this year. And in this game, against Devin Dampier as a runner, those linebackers will need to play really well in this one too. So Arizona State's going to need those linebackers to step up and the defensive line to step up too against a really elite Utah offensive line this year.
It's a great call with Crook and Elliott when you talk about having to pursue and make tackles on Dampier, on Wayshawn Parker, on Naquari Rogers, because those are the guys, I mean, especially when you talk about Utah's offensive line, what makes them so good in those zone schemes? Good offensive lines block the first level. Great offensive lines block the second level. Utah and Spencer Fano, especially at right tackle, they get to the second level a lot because they have a mastery of these outside zone schemes. So Crook and Elliott are going to play a huge factor. If Arizona State goes base and they put Martell Hughes on the field also, he's been solid with a 71 run defense grade. I think that is a huge factor. You know, we always talk about these things in the sense of, okay, this O-line against this D-line, and sometimes that is the case and that decides the game, but these Arizona State linebackers are really good and they're going to have to pursue fast to the football if they want to stop this run game.
And Arizona State will also be without their D tackle Zach Swanson in this game, and Xavier Alford, their star safety, is also out in this game too. He's a really good run defending safety. He's also not going to be playing this week either. So they are missing a couple guys on that defense too, which could be pivotal for them. Ultimately, Dalton, in a game between the teams that are right now 2nd and 3rd in odds to win the Big 12, who will win between Utah and Arizona State?
The way this game could go, especially with these two quarterbacks as wild as they can be sometimes, this might be the most college football of all the college football games that we have. Honestly, I think this could be an absolute late night circuit. This game's at what, 10:30?
10:15, yeah.
Oh boy, we're gonna be up all night.
Yeah,
man, oh man, it's gonna be.
We're doing our prep for this game tomorrow, the next morning.
Might be an all nighter for us this week. Oh boy, Saturday night's gonna hurt. But anyway. Honestly, the more I look at this game could go one of 100 ways, and I think I'm just leaning towards the home team here. I'm going Utah 31-27, but it's probably going to go down to the wire. Dampier and Levitt are two of the most just fun roller coasters to be on in college football right now. I mean, with the way they get outside the pocket, and if you feel like there's just going to be some super athletic improvised plays where these two teams are just playing with every bit of will that they have, I think there's certain things that line up well schematically for both teams offensively. I'll take Utah 31-27. If this game was at Arizona State, I would probably pick the Sun Devils. I think it's that much of a coin flip.
Yeah, I am taking Utah as well, but it is a coin flip, 27-24. So apologies to all of our Arizona State faithful in the chat right now. I know we got a lot of them. I am taking Utah in this game. I do think Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, and now Jalen Moss back too. They could have an advantage over Utah's the heaviest man coverage defense in the country. I mean, Dalton, 60% man rate is outrageous when the teams that run a lot of man coverage are running it 30% of the time.
Yeah.
Utah's doubling.
I mean, that's usually where about the national leader. I think about last year, Purdue and Illinois and Notre Dame. That's about where it tops out. But you also, again, against a quarterback like this, it is a choice, right? And so often it is about, well, we believe in our corners and we have talent at corner. We think we have the advantage at receiver. Well, first of all, in one matchup this week, you don't because it's Jordan Tyson. Second, you do have to think about that nowadays with these quarterbacks and the way, even on the other side, if Arizona State wanted to get into man, you've got Devin Dampier, who's pretty darn athletic himself. It's a choice against this Arizona State team, and it's certainly a choice if they continue to do it in this game 60% of the time.
So I'm taking Utah to win this game. I think their offensive line will find more success against Arizona State's defensive line than Sam Levitt and those receivers will find against Utah's man coverage. Utah wins this game at home and most likely rejoins the top 25 heading into Week 8. Dalton, we had a great burn in the chat from one of the Arizona State fans. So one of them, a short bus, said, all right, after you picked Utah to win, he said, all right, come on, Max, correct the man. And I picked, of course, Utah to win too. And he goes, now you got to add a T to PFF. So
Okay. All right.
It's a good joke. That was good.
Okay.
I might change my pick to Arizona State now after that. That was pretty good.
Oh boy, you think he got you convinced, huh?
He might. That was good enough.
You got bullied into it.
That was a good enough burn, bro. I kind of love that.
Man.
I do love that.
Wow.
So shout out to him in the chat for saying that. But yeah, it should be an awesome ball game. And it's, again, what a day of college football we're going to have. And for that one to be capping it off at 10:15 at night, I mean, you better be eyes glued.
14 hours of college plus a Friday game.
Plus a Friday night game.
Fantastic Friday game. Tune into that because that's going to be fun.
You need to buy blue light glasses like I'm wearing right now because your eyes are going to be hurting. You're not want to miss a second of this game, Dalton. We have so much college football to get to this weekend. And we're not done with the show just yet. We still have our upset picks to get to right now, which I am running away with right now. Your boy, 784 points on the year, over 500 more than Eli, over 600 more than you, Dalton, right now.
Thank you. I can count. Yeah, no, it's tough. It's tough. Feels bad. Had a lot of close calls, and I'm pretty sure I'll probably have another one again this week where I lose by a last-second field goal, and life will carry on, I suppose. It's been tough this year. Like we've said, you've been better this year at picking the underdogs than the favorites.
Well, I've been elite at it.
Yeah.
I've been elite at it, not just better.
Yeah,
Remember, last year's winning total was 960, I believe, from Eli. I'm only like 200 points away right now.
You had to sacrifice a lot to get that.
I know.
You did. But
Yeah,
you're here now.
I sacrificed everything.
But it's all right. We're only like halfway through the season. Don't get arrogant now. You better keep picking right.
We need the chat. I want the chat to start firing off their upset picks too. For we do a parlay of just our picks, the three of us, and then I also do a parlay of the chat plus our picks. And one of these days, we're gonna hit that parlay, and I'm going to retire with all those picks too. Last week, I think we would have won like $12,000 if we hit. We didn't hit, unfortunately, but let's get another one going. Let's get another one going this week. I'll go first as the leader in the clubhouse right now. I'm going back to the well. One of my big upset picks early on in the year that really started my hot streak was Maryland over Wisconsin. We're going back to the Terps, baby. Maryland over Nebraska this week. Plus 210 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. This game is at Maryland, and Dalton, dare I say, I think the home team is the better team in this game. I think Maryland might be better than Nebraska this year. So you got the home team that I think might be better than Nebraska. That's underdogs right now too. Not just underdogs, plus 210 underdogs. Give me the true freshman quarterback Malik Washington. Give me the Terps right now.
The big question in that game is where Maryland is at emotionally. Last week they had a game against Washington where they were up 20-0 and they wound up losing 24-20. They blew it in the fourth quarter. Is that for Mike Loxley's team and his true freshman quarterback? Is that going to be a moment to galvanize things and come back and go, hey, we were the better team, we just didn't finish, and come back and play a full 60 minutes against Nebraska? Or are they going to be feeling a little bit down on themselves? And Nebraska's another good football team coming in there, and Maryland's obviously a lot better than last year. Which way mentally? That feels like a mental battle for Maryland for such a young team trying to figure out how to win games like that. Probably going to be in another spot like that this week where it's close in the fourth quarter and they have to finish this ball game. Can they do it? But I get it. They're a lot better than last year, and they're still probably being underrated.
Absolutely. So you have Dalton in this game. Who are you picking for your upset pick?
All right. I was down to two. I was really stewing over two of them, and I'm going to be mad if it's the first one of these two. So the one I didn't go with, I think Pitt's got a real shot to beat Florida State. I think Kyle Lewis and that defense could give them a lot of problems. I know it's at Tallahassee and Florida State. You wouldn't think after beating Alabama that they'd turn around and lose their next three big games, but I shied away from it. I did. I know Mason Heinschel was really good last week for Pitt, beating the big win over Boston College, but I couldn't do it. Instead, don't be mad, I'm riding the momentum. You know what? I took the strategy out. I took the strategy out. I'm making a full tilt vibes pick here. UCLA coming off the big Penn State win. Tim Skipper, Jerry Neuheisel, Nico Iamaleava, take it out to Michigan State. Go win it on the money line, plus 260. Go shock. I don't know if this is as shock the world as Penn State, but cross-country trip, got to go to Michigan State. Michigan State don't love the way their defense has been playing their last two games against USC and against Nebraska. I do think there is a legitimate chance that UCLA can win this game. If they can run the ball like they did against Penn State, if you can run the ball like that, you can win any game. And look, if Nico's going to start playing like the quarterback he was supposed to be for this team, they look a lot better than a 1-4 football team, or before last week, an 0-4 football team. Plus 260. I was between UCLA and Pitt. I'm riding the momentum. Give me UCLA over Michigan State on the road.
I love it. It makes the Penn State loss look better. Improves the Penn State resume. I love that.
And knowing how my season has gone, it'll be a tight game, and Aiden Childs will lead him down for a last-second field goal.
It improves the Penn State resume, which is big, because right now in ESPN strength of record metric, which kind of measures your resume right now, Penn State is behind Kennesaw State in resume right now.
The Owls.
So if UCLA wins, though, that'll improve the resume. So I'm all for it as a Penn State fan. Eli,
you got your own business to take care of.
Eli, in yours, who are you going with your upset pick of the week?
I'm going with a little bit of action this week. Woo. Give me Ball State over Western Michigan. I'm kind of with Dalton, a little bit of vibes pick here, but basically they're the same exact team. They're almost identical in overall grade, identical in offensive grade, and identical in defensive grade. So give me the team that's plus 220 this week. Give me Ball State.
Okay.
And Ball State, I believe, am I right on this? Last week got a big win over America's quarterback, Parker Navarro, in Michigan.
Big win over
not Michigan, Ohio. He'll be at Michigan.
Yeah,
Sunday.
big win over OU. I also wanted to shout out Andrew Harbaugh in the chat. That was my second pick that I was going to go with was Rutgers over Washington. Cadillac man is just kind of playing well this year, so.
I love it. We got so many. We'll get to it in a second. This is awesome.
Are we just parlaying every game?
I have the odds. Everyone who throws an upset pick in the chat, I added to the parlay, and this number is outrageous.
How many are we up to?
We have 8 picks so far. Our parlay is $10, wins $391.76.
I'm in on
Good
that.
payday for us.
Yeah. We've just been climbing up since we hit.
We have.
Like we hit one, and now we're just like to the moon with every pick.
Okay. Are you ready for the chat parlay?
Absolutely.
For all the chat's picks right now, there's 8 of them. $10 wins $363,902.29 for $10.
What did they throw in there that makes it like that?
I love the chat, dude. This is awesome. So we got our picks, right? I got Maryland, UCLA, Ball State.
Okay.
We got Pitt over Florida State.
I like it.
Arkansas over Tennessee. Rutgers over Washington. East Carolina over Tulane. And South Carolina over LSU. I believe, unless I missed something, and then we could improve it.
Actually, I don't really hate any of those. The Arkansas one's the tough one. I don't know how they're getting stops.
I think I hit all of them. I'm pretty sure I got all of them. All right. That's the parlay.
Okay.
$10 wins almost $364,000. We're going to bankrupt Vegas this week with that parlay.
I mean, yeah, that's something.
Wait, we want one more. Arizona State fans in the chat.
I was going to say, if this hits, I think DraftKings might stop the sponsorship with us.
Oh, boy.
They might end it.
Yeah, we can't
because we're going to take too much
money.
If
you add Arizona State to the parlay, you can only bet $2.36 on the 9-pick parlay. They don't let you do $10. But if you bet $2.36 on that 9-pick parlay, you still win $250,000. I'll take it.
I mean,
there you go.
Listen, why not us, gentlemen?
Go 9 for 9.
Why not us?
So be it.
Oh, I can't even read the odds right now, dude. It's too long. Oh, I love the chat. One of these weeks, we will hit that parlay and we will all retire.
I'm just hoping 3 for 3 again, man. Oh boy. We will see. We will absolutely see, as we always do. College football, what a wild place.
I love it. But that's what we got for our week 7 preview show. Still got a loaded review show on Sunday. I don't know how we're going to get all these games into a 24-hour span in our review notes, but
just pull the all-nighter.
We're going to pull an all-nighter.
What
it's
do you
going to be
sleep for? You don't
long.
We'll be up till 3 a.m. watching that game.
But if we hit this parlay, I'm not coming in on Sunday. So TBD on whether or not we're doing a show on Sunday, because if we hit this parlay, I'm retiring. But we're going to have an unbelievable review show on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, breaking down probably all 13 of these games, because what a week of college football that we've got. For Dalton Wasserman, for our producers back there, and Tyler and Eli, I'm Max Chadwick. Again, see you guys potentially on Sunday with our Week 7 grade release and review show.